And we are alive again, man. Look at us.
Once again. And right on
Once
time.
again.
I mean, look at us
Look,
binding
I
by
don't,
schedule.
I don't appreciate your sarcasm, all right?
No sarcasm.
To be
This
very
is the
clear,
To
last
the magic
week,
of the internet, we are on time.
last week we were supposed to do the podcast. Yeah, I don't know how many times have we said that. How many times have we?
You know, I think that we just try to be more consistent with a couple a month, and you know, we do it whenever we do it.
I mean, at the end of the day,
That's what
that's
it is.
originally what you and I agreed to, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is.
yeah. So,
As long as we're having fun. Hello, Hapa.
how you doing, buddy? How are things?
You know, things are good. We had, I think, 12 days straight of thunderstorms. I think I told you about it here.
A lot of rain, I assume.
And it, just a lot. You know, and we have like downpours. And,
Yeah, like big raindrop rain.
yeah, like you can't see. And like I'm sitting in my office looking out, and I can usually see 2 or 3 blocks with my view, and I couldn't see like across the street. Right, that's the level of rain we had. And so today we did not have rain. Instead, we had 106-degree heat.
Oh no! and
so
all
it's
the
like,
humidity.
it's like, cool, it's beautiful. I'll take a walk around the building. I can't breathe.
Yeah.
It's like one block. So yeah, no, it's all good. But how about you? How's your
We
how's your
had
weather?
about 2 weeks of the same thing, thunderstorms, and it got like here in Austin, we don't get humidity like crazy like the Gulf Coast does, but when we have storms repetitively like that, it gets bad.
Yeah.
And last weekend was swampy. Just
Swampy,
gross.
that's a great way to-
like just gross.
Yeah, swampy's that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, for me, it's like I do keep the house fairly cool, but the windows fogging over every night, I know it's
That
humid out,
Oh
right?
God, that's bad.
Yeah, yeah.
That's bad. It's like your home is trying to fight the elements in like a perfect
God.
storm, and you're just like,
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
them closed.
And, like-
don't let the humidity in.
So last weekend, Classic Lib and his wife and C Raptor and his wife came out here, and we were gonna go see some distilleries and what have you. And of course, when I hopped in the truck Friday night to go meet him for dinner, I turn it over, and it's not even a click. It's just the dash lights came on and then went like.
Oh,
you know,
no.
I was like,
Oh.
oh, son of a. And
Oh no. So
thankfully,
the car, your truck was like, nah.
oh, my truck
Just
was
a
like, nah, man, nah. But luckily, you know, Classic Lib and C Raptor were like, here I come to save the day. Showed up, and we went to Walmart and got a truck battery, and she turned over right away the first time. But and then I thought about it. I was like, that battery's over 6 years old, so yeah, it's about right. It's about time.
Yeah.
So
It's with a battery and stuff like that. You just hate it because
there's
it's
nothing you
always
could
just
do.
an immediate thing, right?
Yeah.
It's just like it's over.
Yeah.
Okay, gotta fix it.
Yeah, yeah. Because at least if you've got like some of the more regular minor mechanical issues, if you can get the truck up and idling, you can kind of at least idle to somewhere to get it, you know.
Right.
But with
Right, you can limp home mode
Yeah,
or whatever. You can
yeah.
get wherever you need to go. Yeah, no, 100%. Battery though, it's
anyway.
like, nah.
but yeah, exactly.
Dun, 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 dun,
As they
dun.
pulled in, that's probably the soundtrack that was playing. You're correct. Anyway,
was Classic Lib was wearing a long sleeve button down, wasn't he?
100%.
Yeah, million degree.
Very professional.
Working on a truck.
Very
working on a truck.
stupid. No offense, Jim, but
Guy working on a truck, million degrees. Guy
Oh,
looks like a
let me
million
tell
bucks.
you,
Shows up,
I was-
I'll help you work on the truck. It's like, bro, you got cufflinks on.
you know, I was actually pretty impressed because C Raptor and him were not sweating nearly as much as me. Like, my body was like my body was like, all the water inside your body is going to be sweat out right now. That's how bad it was. Like, I was actually like dripping. It was gross. Like, yeah. So-
they're just like a little bit of little beads
like, oh
here,
man,
and
it's a
they're
little
like,
warm
just
out right now. Like,
A little
you
warm,
know?
and you're
God.
struggling like that, doing the thing in
Oh.
football practice used to do, where it's like you're trying to get the air.
It was so just I got done, and because I'm a hugger, so I typically will handshake somebody the first couple times I meet him.
Are
but
you
after
a sweaty hugger though?
So Ginger,
Oh, boy.
Sea Raptor's wife, always hugs me, and at the end I was like, I am, I looked at Jim and I looked at Sea Raptor. I was like, just shake their hand. Was like, I'm not. And Ginger went in for the hug. I was like, I am really gross right now, And she started to give me a ring, like, I don't care. And then she kind of did the side thing, like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, exactly.
So like mid approach.
Yeah,
she was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Do you care?"
Wave off, wave off, wave off. Yeah, it was. I felt really gross. I really did. And it's been a very
like the
long
Todd
time.
and Mugatu
since I
from
felt like
Zoolander, like
that. Exactly.
did his eyes.
But it turned out to be a wonderful weekend. Had some great food, visited some great distilleries. Also, one not great distillery. I will tell you, because of science. I did the science for you out there listening.
I'm glad you did the science.
For those of
Look at the
you
science.
that are curious, sake made by Texas is not good.
It's just West Japan.
I'm Western Japan, way far west. Yeah,
What could go wrong in Texas making sake?
And I was like curious because I was like, this is kind of an interesting thing. Let's check it out. And I was like, all right. And I kind of looked at what they had, and I was like, I probably will accept it, but it's one of those things where you try stuff you kind of already know you're not going to be excited about it, but you'll try it.
Yeah.
And
You take a shot. Yeah, sure.
yeah, and when
I mean,
you
you did have to do the science. Let's be fair. You needed to do the science.
I mean, I'm half Japanese, so it's kind of, required of me to do. And normally when I get a flight of something, beers, spirits, whatever, the flight, I will empty the flight. I mean, I paid for it, so I might as well. I took the smallest little sips of these because the smell
it just was not.
was
It was just not
off-putting.
getting it.
Yeah, the smell
Real-
was
the
off-putting.
smell with sake.
Yes, and I took a sip and immediately put them back and left the flights like I didn't. Not again. It.
Interesting.
Look,
Okay.
and
well,
I'm
you
sorry.
did the science, so I don't have to.
I'm
so thank
sorry,
you.
Texas Sake Company, for your review, but it was honest. Let's just put it that way.
French barbecue now.
Well,
Kind of like French barbecue. No.
but even that,
No, thank you.
I'm thinking a French cook grilled some meat. I could do that, But like sake, if you don't have the water quality or you don't have the correct rice, things are off. And
Oh, sure. No, it's an art.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that Texas Sake Company has the wrong water and the wrong rice because it was, like.
And speaking of French barbecue, this is not on our list to talk about. We're going to talk about it now. I
French
was watching
barbecue?
the opening ceremony. Yeah, we're going to talk about this. I was watching the opening ceremony for the Olympics in Paris, and the Gojira performance is if people have not seen the Gojira performance, Gojira is a French metal band. And to give you an idea, the French are a very interesting culture, but Gojira is performing on the side of the building that held all of the aristocrats during the Revolution, and including Marie Antoinette. And the song starts with every window has a Marie Antoinette figure holding her own head, singing to start the song. And that's just the start of it. It was really cool to see metal. Right, but we're watching the opening ceremony, and so my wife and I start talking about what let's say Southern cooking restaurant. I was going to say barbecue, but let's make it broader. Would it work in Paris the way that, in at least in this town, French food here, people come here, they go to school in France, right, culinary school in France, they learn to cook, work in a restaurant, they come here, they mix it with Southern food. It's some of the best stuff you could ever put in your mouth.
Sure.
Right? Would it work? Would taking biscuits and gravy to Paris,
So
would that work?
I can speak to that specifically, biscuits and gravy, because I have talked to and explained to a lot of Europeans, because Rita never had biscuits and gravy in her life until she came here, and I talked about biscuits and gravy. And, by the way, the most amazing biscuits and gravy I've ever had in my life, you'd never guess where I had it, and it wasn't in the South. It was on the Oregon coast. let me tell you.
You know, here's this. I won't argue this point. I'll just take the challenge.
Now, obviously, I would love to try to find a better place because I'm going to believe that there is a place
the
here.
science. We
Yes.
need to do
Yes.
the science.
But so she had biscuits and gravy for the first time, and she was like, "Oh my god!" Like I was like, "Yeah."
Okay, so she was into it.
Yeah, because to be clear, Americans really are the only ones that do a breakfast, like a full-on breakfast. Most places, it's very simple, or just a little cup of coffee or something, right? Well, Americans, obviously, back in the day, we started doing the breakfast thing because you'd be up at the butt crack of dawn farming, or whatever. And trying to tell Europeans about biscuits and gravy, they're like, that sounds gross. Like biscuits with gravy all over? I don't understand, right? But
I can see that being like, you grow up with it, you accept it. But I can see if you've never had the concept, I can see somebody being like, no, you see, it's biscuits and it's got gravy.
It's got gravy.
I can see people being like,
But when
no
you
friend.
also consider the fact that typically, at least in a lot of places in Europe, if something has gravy on it, it's more to cover up literally whatever's under the gravy. Like it's kind of one of those things to kind of make something palatable, right? It's not that means it's not going to be this amazing dish because they had to put gravy on it. So, but the biscuits that you're going to get in the South are probably going to be some of the most amazing biscuits you'd ever have by themselves, right?
Oh yeah, we will fight that battle.
Hell yeah. I won't argue. I will never argue with someone from the South how amazing biscuits are.
No, someone's meemaw tells me she makes the best biscuits. I believe her.
And you better believe there's going to be a shoe flying if you say anything.
Oh,
So-
100%. No, you're right, meemaw. And if another meemaw tells me, she's right too.
But, there are places where there's like, in cultures where they have like jellied eel as a food or, haggis or...
Did you choose jellied eel?
Because I have had it and I still don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. And it's just like, they also have, what do they call them? Squishy peas or something peas? It's like mashed peas. Like I don't want mashed peas I don't want peas by themselves, let alone smashed peas. Like,
Where did you have jellied eel and smash?
in England, when my ship went
For
there.
everyone in England right now who's listening to the podcast, I am sorry.
Well, and look, it could be your thing. I'm half Japanese. There's a lot of foods that we eat that people are like, come on, man. But
Well, I mean, biscuits and gravy. No, it's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
biscuits and gravy, and people are gonna be like, "No way!"
Yeah.
And then you taste it,
and you're like, holy
and I'm glad
shit.
to see Rita actually spoke up in chat here on YouTube.
Oh,
She was
yeah.
like, oh my God, that's actually really good, and I'm glad to hear that because there are probably foods that we eat, at least here in the South. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, right? There are probably foods that we eat that are
for
gonna be,
sure,
like, not
for sure.
things
Like
people want to eat.
pickled pig's feet for some people is just
sure.
not going to be a thing. I'll eat them. I have no
I mean, that
problem.
ain't
Like,
It ain't my thing. You're gonna come out here.
Yeah.
You're gonna come out here, and we're gonna go get boiled peanuts.
Hey, man. No, you
Right?
didn't say it right.
And you
Come
said
on.
you-
If you're going to say it right.
Bald peanuts. Then
There
you're
you
gonna
go.
come out here, and you're gonna get some. And telling you, right? People look at that sideways because a peanut's a legume. It's not a nut.
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared for the texture, and the
Yeah.
texture is more like the inside of a green bean, right? It's like
Yeah,
the seeds in
yeah.
a green bean. And if you're not ready for that, it'll catch you off guard. Yeah. See, there's these southern foods that we're gonna, that people probably think are crazy.
And I mean,
I
don't
get
get
it.
me wrong. I will, in terms
Catfish,
of fried catfish, hell yeah. Like,
Don't even start. Some farm raised. I was in a restaurant.
God.
There was someone here from India. We took them to a restaurant. They were like, "What is the most like southern restaurant? Not the best, What is
Right.
the most southern?" And there
Right.
is a place.
yeah.
And so we're like, "We'll take you. If you want to go." They went, and it is a hot bar place where you get in the line and you go down the line, and they give you whatever. They serve 5 proteins, and then it's whatever veggies, and it's a meat and 3 is what we call it. And so we're going through, and fried catfish was on the menu,
Oh,
and
man,
it said
it's
farm
so
raised
good. Yeah.
fried catfish, and she was like, "Well, what is the difference between a farm raised
Envisioning a
catfish?"
field with catfish just sitting on there.
100%. And I was like, Oh, you don't want? I said you don't want none of that not farm raised cattle.
Yeah.
Don't you even start?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
and then I realized, oh my god, the South. We have catfish farms.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
But it is also like catfish nuggets. Oh my god, big fan. But so I joke with Rita all the time because I talk shit about English cuisine specifically, because to me, the English have some of the most bizarre foods. Spotted dick, case in point, or haggis, or gravy on everything. But the English do give us a plate of food that, if I can get it and it's authentic, I would have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that is
what is that?
That is a full English. A full English breakfast. You've got like skillet fried tomatoes. You got some nice toast with real butter. You've got bacon. You've got blood sausage, which, by the way, a lot of people are turned from, but I love a good, like, quarter-inch slice of blood sausage that's also been put on the grill so it's brown on both sides. 2 fried eggs, and English baked beans, which are completely different from American baked beans.
Okay, I've never had them. Right, I have had baked beans, a trillion. I had them today, in fact.
Yeah.
So you tell me.
Very well. American baked beans are sweeter. They're more sweet. English baked beans are more saucy. They've got a little bit more tomato sauce in there. So, that with the fried egg and toast, and you're dipping it, and it's just, oh my God, amazing. So.
Well, what about, so in chat, I'm actually going to interact with chat a little bit, but crawfish boil. You ever been to a crawfish boil?
Oh, God. So that's something that, if you have an experience, if you're in America and you haven't experienced a crawfish boil, you need to go to Louisiana, or you need to come down to Mississippi, or come down to Southeast Texas and look up when crawfish season is, because you can get crawfish off season, but it's not as good, right?
You shouldn't.
Yes.
But you certainly can.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let me tell you, there is nothing finer than a big group of friends, a cooler full of ice cold beer, and just a picnic table covered in crawfish boil.
So people who haven't are uninitiated. Let's walk through that. So crawfish is not something my wife thought she would like. We were in New Orleans for a wedding, and we went to one of the old super historic restaurants. And for people who don't know, in the Southeast, New Orleans was the city that they didn't burn down during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And so there are restaurants and buildings that have been there, some of the oldest in America, right? And Spanish rule, French rule, a lot of cultures there, and crawfish is kind of a thing. You got the Creole, right, kind of thing, and crawfish is a thing.
Yeah.
And so we went to this restaurant, and she didn't think she was going to like it, and so we ordered like the boat that you get as the appetizer for the table. Someone showed her how to eat them, and she ended up ordering that as her entree, and she had her own boat where she sat. I'm talking about eating, sucking the heads, like the whole 9 yards.
Hell yeah.
And if you've never experienced that will set you down a path, if you like it, where you go to your first crawfish boil, and it's a huge table. And the way they do it, if you've never done it, what Hapa was talking about is they do the crawfish boil, which means they boil the crawfish, and they keep doing that. They boil it with usually potatoes, corn on the cob, maybe some onions, and they will keep doing that for hours. And so the boil gets spicier and spicier and spicier. And every time they're ready, you take them and you dump them on a picnic table that's covered with paper. And everybody just sits down and eats together at the table. That's it. It is one of the best backyard with friends experiences if you have someone there who knows how to do it. It is absolutely fantastic.
My first year here in Texas, when I moved to Southeast Texas, I made a lot of brand new friends out there and everything. And like how I met those people was my friend was like, hey, we're going to a friend's cookout. Come with. I'm like, I'm one of those people that like if I don't know nobody, I don't like that awkwardness. Like, I'm not a big fan of that, you know.
Standing by yourself in the corner with a
right. I'm just like, oh, well, I'm just the weirdo over here by myself, you know. But it was
I'm the sweaty guy.
exactly. Now you understand. But you know, I got to Texas on July 1st of 2018, and the Southeast Texas, mind you. The cookout was at the end of July.
That's Gulf Coast, Texas, y'all. That's hot.
And so humid you could see it in the air, kind of. Like, yeah. So remember the conversation at the beginning of the podcast where we talked about sweaty Hapa?
Yeah.
When I lived in Southeast Texas, when I lived in Southeast Texas, and anybody that lives in that kind of humidity knows this feeling where you don't care that you're sweaty. Like, you just get to a point where you're not going to
accept it.
Yeah. So it didn't bug me at the time. It was not a big deal because I did a whole month of that. I was just I got acclimated that fast, whatever. And it was just a backyard, probably about 30 people. They had 2 of the big drums that they made from hand, but mind you, with the dumper and everything, you know, it's a bit. Basically, they took a 55-gallon drum.
That's actually a good call because it's not. Yeah. It's a thing, right? It's its own thing. Yeah, you're right.
It's like a 55-gallon drum that they cut in half. They open them up so that it's like a big bowl, and it has a lever with I don't know how else to describe it other than a giant colander that sits on the bottom of it, and in order to get the crawfish out of the boil, they just pull the handle, and the colander literally lifts everything that's in that drum up and dumps it out without the liquid. And that's exactly what they did. And it was right up against these giant picnic tables, and every, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, they'd be dumping more. And it was literally just coolers of ice and beer, a bunch of good folks getting drunk and just eating. And the way Seven said it, at the end, like near the end, the last few pots, whoo, what do they say? It's like, slap your mama hot right there, man.
You know what it reminds me of? I wonder if that's like Creole hot pot. Right? It reminds me of
that's why
hot dinner, you know, where it's like you keep. Man,
I'm telling you.
It gets better. It gets better. And it gets better.
So it's funny you say that because, you know, y'all know me. I love Anthony Bourdain, but one of his episodes, he was in Houston. And there's a reason why Vietnamese expats love Southeast Texas so much. It's because the weather is almost identical to Vietnam. It's almost exactly the same. And the cuisine obviously is a little different because it's more Asian influence, but like a crawfish boil, there are places down there that they call it Cajun Vietnamese because it's kind of like a crossbreed, you know.
I want to try that. I'm not gonna lie. I love Cajun food.
I'm telling you, some of the most amazing Vietnamese food I've ever had was American Vietnamese food, but it was Southern American Vietnamese food. It's so freaking good. Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
Cannot talk it up more, like legit. Now that being said, we went off on a hell of a tangent for like 30 minutes, but
I loved it. Not gonna lie, that was fun. So that was not. This is real talk that happens.
I'm telling you.
Welcome to the podcast. We are live on YouTube right now. We're hanging out with some folks in chat. Only the most beautiful, coolest folks though in our chat. So like, if you're not there, I mean, now you know why. And you can listen to us on wherever you get your podcasts, right? So if you're listening to us, welcome and hello. And if you like to catch us live, we're on YouTube. It's a lot of fun to do. We have some subjects today, and a couple of them are continuations from other conversations, and a couple of them are not. I'm actually going to read the description you put in because I think it's awesome. Is the internet actually dead? How are content creators being driven to produce content because of the algorithm? Is forced incarcerated labor being used to farm gaming currency? And are live service games ruining the quality of game storytelling? All right now on Real Talk with Hapa and Seven.
I'm trying to get Seven to do a jingle up too, so we have like a, you know, like a da 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 da.
Oh, the 18 theme. Da, 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 da,
Can you imagine?
With a Knight Rider.
You have to do the voice though of like in a world.
In a world. Yeah, we could do like Night Riders.
But we should
We
talk
do
about
this. It should
the
be
title,
It should be an amalgamation of like the 80s.
right? This is
We're going on
episode.
another tangent.
Is this episode 22 technically?
I think it is. There was one you would ever have on Podcast Land, though.
Because Hapa's hardware is garbage, and
Well, we messed it up. So, like, it is 22, but if you're in Podcast Land, it will be the 21st.
correct.
Because I got the numbering wrong, and then we're going to fix it. Now, so it's season 2, episode 3,
20,
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is where we are. Yeah.
Yep.
Season 2, Heather. Here's to you, man.
2 years, man. 2 years. Cheers to you too, sir. So the title of this episode, and this is July. Can we talk about the fact that it's August already? First, real quick.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Holy crap! Like, I mean, we say it almost every episode, right? How
It really
time
is.
flying. Like,
Time flies. It really does. You turn around and it's like, oh, it was January.
when did I
Christmas.
when
And
did
now
I
it's
turn 40? What the hell? Like,
August. Why are you so old?
why am I so old? Thanks, Mom.
Why are you so old?
But
So
the
we're gonna
name of this
cover- go
episode is Magnificent Beast Cerberus.
What is it again?
Magnificent Beast. I can English, okay?
I know.
Yeah, I feel
I'm
like that's a
encouraging you.
lie. It's a lie.
I'm your biggest fan.
Cerberus, and the reason I did this, so Seven and I talked about this beforehand because we were originally planning on doing cocktail names for all of our episodes. Now, we've joked that it's really hard to continuously come up with cocktail names. I promise you I could keep it up, but I was thinking today, I was like, Seven and I don't drink a whole lot of cocktails, and in fact, we typically, just like right now, it's like, a glass of
It's a good call.
bourbon
Yeah.
or a glass of whiskey, whatever the
Mixers.
case would be. Yeah.
Right.
So I thought, why don't we start throwing in some names of bourbons we like and stuff. And this weekend I went out to Fang and Feather, which anybody that follows Whiskey Tribe on YouTube knows Fang and Feather, Crowded Barrel company out there. Beautiful group of folks. I spent a lot of money this weekend on various spirits. I got a bottle of tequila, 3 bottles of gin, and a bunch of bottles of bourbon. So, a couple rye, a couple, corn. But anyway, and one of the ones we found was from Fang and Feather. It's called Magnificent Beast. They have 2 releases, one Cerberus. And Jim, maybe you can help me with the name of the other one. I can't remember. There's 2. But the Cerberus is what today's named in. That's what I have in the glass today. Wonderful spirits. Great location. You get a chance to come out here to Austin, go out to Fang and Feather, go give them a visit. And you can look at the wall of infamy they got out there for the supporters. A lot of Patreon supporters. I bought in. I used to be a member. I rebought back in. Their Patreon's pretty cool, because depending on the level of Patreon, you get free samples and stuff, or they'll send you stuff. So, kind of gimmicky, but I'm an idiot and I love gimmicky stuff, so here we are.
And whiskey.
And whiskey, yeah.
A good whiskey, right? Like a good whiskey. It's an art. You're talking about the sake earlier. It's an art.
Yeah,
it really
for sure,
is.
for sure. And an
People who
art
do
of
it
love,
well
too.
should be. Yeah, it's not easy. It takes
Yeah.
a long time to
Yeah.
do well, and
Yeah.
a lot of money. And so, like, people who do it well, I'm fine supporting them.
Yeah.
That's not crazy to me. So, first subject tonight, Abba. I didn't give the date, by the way. It is July the 31st. You said August. It is July the 31st for people to know.
Yeah.
2024. It is a Wednesday. And we're going to start with the question you asked is the internet actually dead? And we were talking earlier this week, or maybe late last week. And here's the concept. And I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts on it, because it's
Sure.
something I've been in some ways privy to for a while.
Yeah.
But never really thought too much about, right? And the concept is, at some point, there will be, the majority of content on the internet will be automatically generated by bots.
Yeah.
And what that is saying is the dead internet, which is technically a conspiracy theory, but the dead internet would be a situation where there's so much content by bots that there's no need for humans to create content. In other words,
Right.
it's just machines creating content for machines.
Yeah.
And we've been talking a lot about AI. We will continue to talk about AI, talking about algorithms and how they're impacting people's behaviors. We'll talk some more about that tonight. But what do you think about the dead internet theory? Where do you think we are? And maybe just in your world, like how much bot activity do you notice where you actually know it's bot activity?
I don't know if it's because we've talked about it, in the recent past, or excuse me, or it's legitimately that noticeable, but I have noticed, especially on social media more than anywhere else, the amount of bots out there. Not only and I don't mean that oh no shit, but bots that are posting content for accounts that I know aren't bot accounts. So meaning probably what I'm guessing,
like a human's account, but bots are
correct
actually posting the content.
Posting content, and I think where that comes from is anybody that's a content creator gets those DMs and stuff all the time, like, oh, we love your content, grow your channel, blah blah blah, and what I've noticed is it's easy. I mentioned this in the last episode. It's really easy to pick out those bot posts because it'll be some amazing video. It might be something somebody said on a podcast, and I have seen it with Joe Rogan, clips of Joe Rogan. I've seen it with people that talk about men's health or mental health or whatever, like something profound, like a profound video. And then the text down below is like, here, bud, here's the information on the new Lexus GLI or something. And you laugh, but
What?
I'll start sending you, as I find them, I'll start sending
I'd like
you
to see
those
those,
on Instagram, because you scroll and there's literally nothing in the text of the post related to the video.
So completely unrelated. It's just like they're using a video, which is some
100%.
popular something
100%.
that gets some traction, and then the text is like, oh.
And I don't know why the text is that way, but those reels or whatever will have 10,000 likes, or So I don't know if it's like they produced an AI to produce content that has an algorithm that knows what to look for. So if maybe it's in there, talking about if it has car names in the text, follow this account, and that's how they grow the AI. I don't know. I don't know if that's the thing, but it is it's rampant. It's rampant. It really is. Like I don't know how else to explain it other than it's bad. What's really funny, I don't notice it so much on Twitter. It's Facebook and Instagram. They're all over the
Twitter?
place. Yeah, right. X or Z or whatever we're calling it this week, right?
Whatever the name is now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
Twitter is more the bot accounts. I call them fembots. That's what I notice. Some scantily clad woman that responds to a post trying to, farm follows and likes or whatever, and you can tell they're clearly bots because sometimes the words just don't make sense, But it's mostly on Instagram and Facebook for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen. Obviously, the AI content is getting better, right? The Turing test.
Yeah.
I don't think we've quite passed it yet. I think.
Yeah.
I would say that Generation X, let's call it Gen X, right, and beyond, and younger, Gen X and younger, who grew up with technology, still probably have an ability to most of the time spot something that's not quite right.
Yeah.
And I saw a post that got a ton of traction online, and it was obvious to me. It was obviously AI, but it was a magician, and it was formed like it was a talent show, like one of the America's Got Talents type shows.
Right.
And it's a guy in a white bodysuit, and he's kind of bent backwards, standing like a dog would stand, and someone takes the rubber dog head and puts on him. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like the guy turns into an actual dog. Well, because as the video goes, he actually does turn into a dog, right? It's AI. And it's like people are throwing all over the place, like, oh my God, how did this magic trick occur? It's
right.
like, AI, right? the video is the magic trick, and so I do think it's getting better at fooling people, right? I think over time it's getting better and better and better at fooling people. And
well, when you consider AI is programmed to learn, right? So it's going to learn from its
machine
own
learning, 100%.
mistakes. It's going to learn when, okay, well, this doesn't work, or remove these words from my text to sound more real. Like, it's going to learn that stuff if it hasn't already, by the way. Like, let's be honest, there's various generations of AI out there functioning right now, you know. And I like that you brought up that Turing test, because a lot of engineers that do AI are actively working to defeat that test specifically.
Oh, 100%. That's what they want to get to. Right?
Yeah, which I think is
beyond that.
I don't think is a. Well, okay, it might be a hot take to say it's not something we should morally do. I don't think it's something we should morally do. I just don't think it should be a thing. Period.
Oh, I think the moral debate is one that more people should be having.
Yeah.
Regardless of what opinions may be, I think the debate itself is needed. I was with a friend who was doing a TED Talk in South Florida, and I was just there to support, and his friend was the one doing the talk. And backstage, there was a professor from UCF, and his primary area of study at the time was artificial intelligence. And the talk he was giving was around ethics and morals as regards artificial intelligence.
Right.
And this has been years ago now, so he was way ahead of that curve. And I just think we kind of didn't pay attention to any of that, right? We just kind of went forward and said, we can do some of this, and we're doing it. And I think the conversation of what is morally sound in regards AI is good. And there was a piece of, we don't do politics at all here, and this is not what I'm shooting for, but there was a piece of legislation that passed unanimously recently. And not going to talk about who introduced it or anything like that, but a piece of unanimous legislation is not a thing, right? Everybody knows how divided we are. It's
never a thing.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
But the unanimous legislation was artificial intelligence generating images for purposes, right?
Right.
And I think we all need to start looking at that more seriously, because it is advancing at such a rate that we're going to have to figure out what to do about it. And I think it's a good conversation. And maybe some point you and I should have that, maybe not on a podcast, but I'd love to hear
Sure.
Like what the thoughts are. We've talked a lot about, and we're going to continue talking about AI obviously, but we've talked about it in the context of video games, where there's neither one of us is like some curmudgeon, right?
Right.
There's good uses for this stuff, and then there's bad. And just like anything else, right? You can use it in good ways and bad. And so I would love to see more people try to be responsible with it, but right now it's kind of like
maybe it's the pessimist in me. I don't have a whole lot of faith in humanity stepping back from AI with the realization that things can really go bad, and that probably is pretty scary thought, to think of that way. But where do I think AI is amazing? Okay, programmer programs some crazy code for a game or software for whatever, and the dev says, AI, I need you to look over my code and make sure it's okay.
Yep.
Perfect example of exactly how AI should go, or how AI has been used to find stuff in MRIs and CTIs.
100%.
It has been
There's
amazing.
A company downstairs in the building that I'm in, they have developed AI that works with the airport monitoring systems.
Perfect.
That can identify very hard to detect devices that we do not want on airplanes, right? And there's these kinds of cases where that's a superpower, right? It's doing something good for society.
And I think that's
and then there's the other side of it, right?
Like Jim just said, is like the potential as a weapon. I think that's the biggest moral issue I have. And like they say, humans are the only beings on this planet that will engineer intricate ways of getting rid of other humans, right? Like we're the only beings that do that. Yeah, it's the only thing
we're best at.
So I hate to say it, but AI is just another step in that direction, and like I said, I know it's helpful. It is helpful. I do love it, but I don't like the possibility of replacing people with it. I think that to me is the problem.
And I agree. And, this is a good segue because where it's coming from, it reminds me of social media's early days.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about this
Yeah.
ad nauseum. But when it was a timeline was basically your friends in the order that they posted some piece of content.
Yeah.
That was it. Those days, it was really, really good
Yeah.
for connecting people. And then the algorithms showed up, right? And AI is a series of intricate algorithms. It's not as complex as people really think it is. It's getting more complex and it's getting smarter, but all that's happening is the processing power exists to layer it.
Yeah.
That's what's driving it. So the algorithms that social media began experimenting with as a segue have led to humans behaving, to your point, in ways that just are there to benefit the algorithm. So let's give examples. We had this video that we talked about last time. It was a great video, and anyone who hasn't seen it should go back, listen, and watch the video, where the content creator is talking about the weird videos that they're seeing in YouTube land.
Yeah. By the way, it's in the description of the last episode in case you're wanting to go
podcast on YouTube.
in YouTube.
Yeah, and so these algorithms exist to what they presumptively exist to do is help people find the video they want. That's the presumption. I will show you the video next.
Sure.
What they are actually designed to do is create addiction and engagement, right? Keep people here for as long as possible. So when you have bots, we talked about the dead internet, or the dead web, right? The dead internet theory. When you've got bots creating content, there are humans out there trying to find ways to make a living doing this too.
Right.
And
let me stop you there. They're not trying to make, they are making a living.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, and making a living is an understatement in some cases. Right?
Yes.
In some of the cases. The particular article that we kind of went back and forth on, it's the person in that article. It's a lot of money. We're talking about a lot.
Yes.
A lot of money. And what it has led to is some of these folks who probably started off as a good natured, I've got a YouTube channel, I'm doing something fun, got addicted to, I gotta have more numbers. I gotta have bigger numbers.
Yep.
Right? And then the money starts coming. And there's another, I gotta have the money. You and I have seen this on a much smaller scale and you're much more successful on Twitch than I've ever been, but you begin to care about those numbers. Those are probably not something when you started you'd think I ever would care about, but you do, right? You do end up caring about it. And I can see, you see people, oh, here's the money. And then they start behaving in ways which are really, really morally questionable.
Yeah.
Just to drive more people to their channels. And part of the problem is coming in, I would love your thoughts on this, part of the problem is coming in, now we're understanding that so many of those content creators on YouTube were addicting children.
Yeah.
And that was their end.
Well, that's the market now, I believe, right? I think that's what a lot of content creators aim at is 25 and below. I think that's the market nowadays for that stuff.
Oh, it's amazing. And then, so here we are. We know how addiction works.
Yeah.
We know kids are particularly susceptible to it. We've created a tool by which if you can just meet these things, the algorithm will pump you up.
Oh, man.
And get you in front of more and more kids. And the unhealthy behaviors that are occurring there, I will say to you, I'm supporting what you said earlier. You don't have a lot of faith in humanity to do the good thing here.
Yeah.
It's leading to behaviors on the whole. The people who do great channels with really great content, they're not successful. They can't make a living at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're getting just dwarfed out of existence by people who are doing crazy, unhealthy, weird things.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is, but I do know it's a problem.
Well, in talking about the algorithm, one of the things, I'm going to go all the way to the bad spectrum, in my opinion. One of the articles I read in between our podcasts was there has been a rise to content on YouTube, and this is I'm sorry, it may upset some people, but breastfeeding teaching videos is a new content that's on the rise on YouTube.
Okay, I'm not aware of this. This is new to me.
It's literally because a woman holding a doll while she's completely topless, quote unquote, showing breastfeeding, it was allowed to be on YouTube. and stay on
because
YouTube.
it was educational and in an
Well, it was
instance where-
marked educational. That was not the intention of the content creator that was doing it. It was purely for like OnlyFans level shit.
Wow.
But it was able to get past the
You
EULA
almost,
and TOS
right there,
violation.
you almost said "excuse me," but you decided not to because
no, it is. It
indeed
is.
shit.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
But because it's able to get past their EULA TOS violation because it's marked educational and she's holding a doll to her breast, right? In the meantime, and again, we try to avoid politics, but I'm in the South and I used to work on guns and stuff in the military. I love guns. People with YouTube channels for that stuff have gotten demonetized.
Sure.
Because they don't want to quote unquote support violence. But it's like and that's what we're talking about when we talk about the algorithm, right? You got people out there that have figured out ingenious ways to break the algorithm and make money, doing it. And that
100%.
to me is just, it's sad. It's sad that we've gotten to a point where AI notwithstanding, this is where we are. People are creating, and like Seven said, it's a great example. People start out with the best intentions. They create content with the best intentions. But they're not growing that fast, or they're not growing at all, or they don't have a lot of views. And this podcast is probably a good example of that. Like, this is a project of love for me and Seven. I don't expect to ever be at the level of Papa Joe. It's just, I don't expect it. If it happens, amazing, fantastic, I love it, and that's honestly how he talks about his rise to fame too. He didn't expect it, he didn't honestly care about it, he just wanted to do podcasting and it took off, right? And so I hate that the long short of the thing is, in order to make it big as fast as possible, this is where we are. Like, play games with the algorithm so that we can get there.
It strikes me, this is going to be a long way around the River Nile for what I'm about to say, but there was an AI that I got shown that generates music.
Sure.
And I've seen 50. This one, however, was really close. So the difference was it sounded like live musicians playing instruments. To someone who's been a musician for a long time, the lyrics got wonky, right? And so I could tell it was AI if there were lyrics. But in the realm of actually generating the music, it was really close. And so I was like, cool, what if I was going to use that as a podcast? I was going to generate some music, use it as a podcast intro song. Just curious. We've been talking about that. We've been playing around with it.
Sure.
Yeah, I could make it. It's probably 10, 15 hours of work for me. Or I could spend 10 seconds here, right? I'm just really curious. What is this? So I look into their licensing agreement. Here is what I think is a thing that's coming that we're going to have to deal with in the land of AI, is their license agreement says you have to pay a fee if you want to use that music commercially. So they did nothing.
Yeah.
They did literally
It's like the
nothing.
Goodwill. It's like the Goodwill, essentially. They made money off the backs of nothing that they produce really organically, right? And they probably bought the AI license from somebody right out the back, right? Like, yeah.
Oh, no, this is the thing is, okay. You want to know the deep, dark secrets of what's going on in AI right now? All these companies that are sprouting up. We're an AI company. We do AI. We've named our AI. It is the same 12 models.
Oh, yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
And there's 1,000. We're so innovative. No, yours talks like a pirate. That's the only difference. Like, this is, and what's happening is people are eating it up. Investors are like, take my money.
Well, because that's the hotness right now, right? I mean,
it's just, AI is the big thing. It is.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, like you're never going to convince me that you can copyright AI music.
Yeah.
I would personally pay for and sit in court to fight that, personally.
Yeah.
Right? If I use that music, I'm coming for you. With who? The RIAA? Representing what artist?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You're not representing anybody but your own interests. That's
right,
it.
It's called the recording industry.
Correct.
You didn't record.
Yeah. Right.
it was randomly generated sounds as far as you and your little algorithm are concerned.
My gosh.
But now you're saying I can copyright it. So I'm really curious if we start seeing the copyright on videos and things of that nature, because I look at these content creators who are trying to do good content.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're having like maybe a little bit of success. And then you watch them switch to like gaming the algorithm.
Yeah.
And their content when they do that, their content becomes bland and generic and for me, no fun.
I mean, there's been some content creators that I followed on Twitch and went to their social medias and followed their social medias as a result of their Twitch, because their social medias were like me. Like, for me, the content that I post on Instagram, case in point, is completely different than the content I post on or have on Twitch, right? My content on Instagram, it has nothing to do with gaming. So you kind of see another facet of somebody that you're interested in personality-wise on Twitch, on their social media. But then to see, you can tell exactly the time that they switch to, oh, this song or this whatever is popular on TikTok, so they made sure that they did the exact same thing on their social media so they can hit those wickets. I think that's...
Hit those wickets. That's a great way to say it.
And that's the thing that really upsets me too, because we're at a point now where AI and the algorithm are driving the content creation, not the other way around. Like, the content creator should be driving the content creation, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you just sparked a thought. Okay, here's the argument against AI. It can't be creative. And I think that may be a hard limit.
Except the folks that drive AI will argue against you. Say, no, it can be creative.
Well, hang on. Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It cannot be creative. Technology cannot be creative.
Sure.
Now, it can fake creativity, but it cannot be truly creative.
Here's the thing. That's the perfect statement, though. It fakes being
And if
creative.
it fakes it enough to kill actual creativity, then the only creativity left
is
artificial creativity.
Yeah.
That is messed up.
Well, and that's you went. I think honestly, the first episode that you and I did, where we talked about AI, good or bad, I think that was literally our topic, like AI, good or bad ? Right? And that's the problem I have. I have a problem anytime in a. I'll use the term artistic, and that's a huge blanket. Okay, artistic. You're talking Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, painting, art, whatever, storytelling, the whole nine. If you have an application removing the person completely from that content creation, I have a problem with that at that point, because that is the antithesis of being human, is our ability to produce art, produce music, whatever. You know, as horrible as it sounds, engineer a nuclear power plant, nuclear bomb. Like, we did that as the top level of our human being. And the moment that you're like, oh, well, we got AI to do it all now you're idiocracy. Now that's where you are now. Like, you're at the point where you're going to start saying Gatorade and Powerade needs to be what we put on the grass.
Plants crave.
Exactly. That's where we are, right? We're just stupid drooling blobs on a hover wheelchair,
100%.
right? And
the brain rot is
And that's the problem I personally have with AI. Like, I don't like the idea of any of that. You know what I mean? One of the things I love about gamers, case in point, and why I'm a gamer, is sometimes game devs will produce a game and they don't even know how the players necessarily will play the
100%.
game. And that's something I love, is because you have people that'll be in a game and think, maybe I can do this or do that to get to this point. Like, Elden Ring is a perfect example of that chaos. Like, there have been ingenious ways that Elden Ring has been played, bosses have been killed, that the devs are even like, we never even thought of that. Like, we never even thought that you could do that. You know, using a specific weapon to clip through a wall in a map to get around behind, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Your speed runners, sure.
Yes,
100%.
yes. And you know, AI is not going to do that yet. But God help us if AI gets to a point where they can think like us, right? Because at that point, that's when Skynet starts nuking us, right?
Where we're wasteful and unnecessary at that point.
Yes,
The only thing
like,
we are is a source of protein. And you know what?
Actually looked at like a
don't wanna
battery
be-
or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, you don't want to be number 25 on the
no.
on the food chain.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a
yeah.
good place to be. Guys.
Or number 4 for that matter, even.
I'm uncomfortable with when I am in a situation where I'm number 2. I am uncomfortable with that.
Right.
So,
Oh God.
so yeah, you're talking about games, and one of the original. I'm going to try to segue this. This will be fun. One of the original moments where I saw that
Oh yeah. Look at
AI and algorithms were taken over was some really odd childcare videos, and someone had brought up that it was a woman and like 2 kids, and they were putting out like 30 videos a day.
that. Literally.
Yeah. And, yeah, literally. And when you looked at how much time the videos ran, and they may only be 20 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it is, but you looked at how many videos and how much time they ran, and it was like 18 hours a day of making videos.
Yeah.
And some people began to ask the question, are these people
Legit.
prisoners? Right? Are they
Yeah.
being held against their
Yeah.
will? And you were talking about video games, and one of the articles that we were talking about came out from the LA Times was, and this has been for a while, but there were 300, let's see, was it the LA Times, there were 300 prisoners at the Jixi labor camp located about 18 miles from neighboring Russia were required to play games such as World of Warcraft and EverQuest to earn credits that could later be hawked online
Yep.
to other gamers for cash. So you've got these prisoners, and you're
Yeah.
forcing them to play
Yeah.
video games to generate in-game currency, which you then sell.
So let's talk about this
For
too. What's
real
the
world currency.
reasoning? What's the reasoning behind this? So, this is a conversation or a topic as soon as Rita sent this to me. Which, by the way, I don't know if this is our first topic. Is this the first topic that's been given to us by a viewer listener?
It is.
I
It
think
is.
so.
And you know what? It makes me feel warm and fuzzy that it was Rita.
Yeah, for sure. As soon as I read this article, I already knew that if I sent it to you or she sent it to you, we would talk about this. And I love this because me and Seven also played a game called EVE Online back in the day.
Oh my. You're going to go with
And-
Eve. We're going to do this.
We're going to do it because this is something I used to see all the time. Back in
You
the
did,
day, you could farm currency or characters. You could literally take actual money and buy characters or currency that's already been farmed, pay actual cash for it, and some character called, like, I'm not going to say the country where the farmers are from, but I'll let you guys imply because the character's name will be like Xi Ping number 4 or, something along those lines, right? And you look at where your money went and you'll see that it went across the Pacific Ocean to an area that is known for, doesn't matter how we get ahead, we're going to do it however we want or however we can, right? And EVE Online was the first game that I was ever involved in where I actually saw these farms occurring, like people that legitimately obviously had people with like a wall bank of computers where they were doing all this and making real money doing it. And where the compelling thing that blew me away, I never thought of in these countries where a lot of times prisoners are forced labor.
Sure they are.
You might have some prisoners that are actually there farming these characters and currency and whatever, and somebody is making immense profit from it. And in this case, you're talking about an actual government making money.
I mean, the article says prison bosses made more money forcing inmates to play games than they do forcing people to do manual labor.
Yeah.
There were 300 prisoners forced to play games. They worked 12-hour shifts in the camp, and they could earn 5,000 to 6,000 renminbi, which is about $925 a day. So about $1,000 a day per prisoner. Think about what I just said there. $1,000 a day per prisoner. You feed these folks.
Yeah.
You give these folks water to potentially clean themselves a couple times a week and drink. you feed them, and you shelter them in the cheapest possible way, in probably a concrete box.
Yeah.
That's your total expense for them, and you're making $1,000 per day per person. And Eve is a fantastic, spreadsheets in space.
Yeah.
Right? That's Eve, and
That's
it's a fantastic
actually Eve,
example.
yeah.
Oh, it is. You're actually playing the spreadsheet simulator, right? And it is a fantastic game. I love that game. I think it's one of the greatest games ever created. But it did turn into a situation where the real money, they call them RMTs if you're ever in the gaming world and someone uses RMT, that's real money trading, right? That's a thing that almost every single game has listed as it is a breach of the terms of service. But in EVE Online, you started showing up and there would be 30, the game is about spaceships, right? One of the things you do is you mine your spaceships. And the more spaceships you have, the more stuff you can do. And you would show up and there'd be 30 ships with a very similar name, 1 through 30, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, well, wait a minute, this obviously isn't legit.
Yeah.
And there's the one side of it, which they are ruining the game economy, making money on their own. There's the other side of it, which you don't get to play.
Yeah.
Right. So as someone who wanted to play the game, you'd be like, I guess I don't get to play the game because, right, it's being farmed actively.
Yeah.
And if that was happening with prisoners, and this article was from 2011, so we could, I would promise you that has expanded. If that was happening with prisoners, imagine what people are trying to do with AI.
Right.
And which costs
I
somehow
promise
even
you,
less.
I promise you, AI is at this point now doing a lot of that because they don't need the human involved, right? And now the flip side of that too is it also takes resources away from companies that publish these games because they have to hire staff or task staff with trying to find these folks that are breaking the Euler toss and doing this stuff, right? Which, matter of fact, Rita and I and my brother were talking about earlier. There's a guy that used to work for, the company that produced World of Warcraft, and he figured out ingenious ways to find these bot farmers and prove that they were bot farmers and then get those accounts banned. And you're talking about, in some cases, hundreds of thousands, literally, of accounts that were found to be farmers and then got banned. Eve was the same way. Eve literally had folks
100%.
that would go out. The mining is a perfect example because bot miners, there were scripts that would be run where, you had your little mining ship. It was programmed to drive to this spot, start mining for X amount of time because it knew exactly how much ore could be mined in that amount of time, and then take it back, and then it would be put on the market. And there were people that were literally actively working or finding ingenious ways to bump these bots off of asteroids, or even in some cases get them attacked by the in-game police, stuff like that. So it's interesting to me, but it's also, like we said, like one of the things that I lose a little bit of faith in humanity is I guess it's not a faith in humanity, it's an understanding of how humanity is, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's sad that a lot of it's in a negative context, but if there's a way, money creates greed. I don't care who you are. Money creates greed. And if it's in the topic where we talked about the algorithm, people doing things via the algorithm to get their content out there, or unfortunately farming in games and selling for real money, that greed destroys people. And I don't care who you are. I'm sure there are people that are outside that realm that are capable of staying modest and humble and what have you, but those aren't usually the people that are going to make it big, right? Unfortunately. So.
Unfortunately, yes. And it's interesting with the game farming, and we can move on after this.
Sure.
But the game farming, it's a thing we've known, and I always assumed, let's say I'm playing Eve, or World of Warcraft was a big one, right, where you have these farmers. And it was always fun for me and groups of my friends to have a little whiskey, have a Saturday night where we go out and we mess with the farmers. And we find ways to keep them from being able to do the thing they're doing.
Yeah.
And the assumption at the time was these are people paid to do that, because we knew then, and we know now still, there are full-time jobs in certain countries where that's what you do.
Yep.
And you get paid. You get up, you go to work every day, and you click, and you
Yeah.
farm. And some people are like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Trust me.
It's not. Yeah.
And right. But then when you find out this is potentially prisoners, probably held to a quota.
And
And
then
I'm,
how
like,
many
out
of
there
those
screwing with them.
prisoners? How many of those
I'm out here
prisoners
screwing with them,
also? Yeah, like whose sentences may be nearing or whatever, and didn't get commuted because they needed farmers. Like when you think of it in that context, right?
100%. You're making
Yeah.
1,000. Think of what I said.
That's a lot of money
$1,000
in these
per
countries.
Day.
Yes.
I mean, it's $1,000 per day per person.
Yeah. Let's
a
translate
lot
that
of
to
money.
an Indian rupee or a Thai baht, or like when you think about those conversions. Okay, when I was in Thailand, I could get a full 5-course meal for like $8, like $8, and then you translate to $1,000 a day.
$1,000 a day per person.
That's insane.
I mean, when you're talking about, if I have to pay you, let's say I can make $1,000 a day, but I have to pay you 500 of it.
yeah,
I'm making $500.
you're still making an
right there.
insane amount of money.
Right. Got to pay for electricity, computers,
Yeah.
whatever. Cool. I'm at $200. I'm
Yeah.
at 20% profit. Whatever. I'll take it. If I've got a prisoner, however, would I have to pay to keep that prisoner alive? Because that's my only mandate.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't have to be good food.
And
I don't have
even
to care about it.
that's
It's-
probably like negotiable, right? Because we could just get more prisoners.
100%. So it's like, what am I, $30 a day?
Yeah.
$40 a day, and I'm making 1,000. Like, there's just the the profit margins are just insane.
Oh.
So yeah, on one hand, I would feel bad about messing with someone who was a prisoner. On the other hand, screw those guys.
Yeah. For me, it's one of those things. It's like if I'm able to figure out how to screw with those people, I'm going to. Because if you remove the ability of that market being a market, then hopefully they'll go away, or they'll find a different way to do what they do, right? Like,
Well, it's like we said last podcast about, I gave a piece of advice. If you are concerned about AI and algorithms and stuff like that, the best thing you can do is not interact with them. And so if you don't know
Yeah.
exactly where something came from in your social media feed, just don't click on it. And the algorithm learns from that too. And you can drive it into different behaviors by not interacting with it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with these gold farmers, right? We can drive different behaviors by making them not able to do it.
Yep. Yeah. And going back to the social media side of the house, like you can. So let's say you get that spam DM. Hey, love your content. For X amount of dollars per month, we can grow your followers
Hey.
by X amount of
Wait,
numbers.
that guy really loves my content,
Yeah,
Appa.
I thought it was me. I thought it was just me. but you could report that account, and that account will be the one that gets banned. But that account that is sending the DMs is a throwaway account meant for that,
Yes.
right? Now, going back to what we talked about before, like I told you, some prolific, amazing speech done by somebody or whatever, talking about mental health, men's health, whatever the case may be, and then in the text, it's, yeah, this is the new Toyota Tundra, blah, blah, blah. Hey, and it's hilarious. The beginning is always the same. Hey, bud, this is what I was talking about. The Tundra.
Hey,
da, da, da,
bud.
da, 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 da. Yeah, and it's always like that, right? But you know what's really funny? So let's look at Instagram. So you see that text on 15 different accounts being on posts, and you report that as spam. Guess what happens? Nothing. Why? Well, because they don't give a crap about the text that's in the post. They care about spam if they're spamming you with sales and stuff like that. They have absolutely nothing in place to catch AI posts that are doing that spam post. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, well, that's why I'm seeing probably 5 to 10 of those a night, because they legitimately are able to just do it all day, every day, right? And
No, 100%.
And I
the
don't have a fix
companies
for that.
are-
like,
well, the companies are complicit. This is actually a really good segue to where we were going, because the
Right.
companies... Complicit's the wrong word. They both created it and profit from it. Right? So
Yeah,
when you talk about
'cause it's
how
engagement.
this works, it works It works because YouTube made it.
Yeah,
And YouTube
yeah.
makes it work. It works
sure.
because Facebook made it.
Yeah.
In Twitter, right? Whatever, Instagram, sure. TikTok. Oh my God. Seriously. guys,
Yeah,
stop
whole
using
different
TikTok.
level.
But,
Whole different level.
Yeah, like for real. But like the companies are complicit, and one of the things that's been going on in the gaming industry is this move towards live service games.
Yep.
Now, you and I play games together, love playing games with you, and we have a group of friends and we play, varying times, different
Yep.
games with them. And there are very few games now that come out which are not live service games. And so for people who are listening who don't know what that means, a live service game is basically a game that never ends. That's the kind of the concept. So there was a time and a place where you put out a game and the game was its full story. That was the attempt, call it, back in the days of Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil coming out. That mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But the very first time they put that game on a compact disc and put it in a case, the game was finished. They couldn't go update it.
Yep.
And so the days of games being a complete release are I would say they're waning, but there's some companies fighting back. And a great example is Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers released a game called Hogwarts Legacy last year, their biggest game of the year. Hogwarts Legacy was a complete game.
Yep.
Meaning there was no subscription you had to pay. You didn't have to engage in some monthly financial set of transactions to continue to enjoy the game or to get the content for the game. It was a huge game, a huge hit, one of the best games, gorgeous game. It's just like being in the Hogwarts universe. It is an amazing game.
Yeah.
And the CEO of Warner Brothers Games came out and said, we don't ever want to do that again. We only want to do live service games. So here you have a game that you and I actually very much enjoyed in alpha and beta and played together, which is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Yep.
This is a video game based on the DC comic universe that came out. We really, really enjoyed that game.
Oh, it was fantastic.
But it was there was a good gameplay loop. The characters were fun. It was hilarious. It was a lot of fun to play
together. A lot
together.
of entertainment.
And it was incomplete.
Yes.
The story just...
Yeah.
What happens
You
next?
get to
It's
the
like,
end
well,
and then
wait.
you're just waiting. You're just waiting. Right.
Yeah, so you finished, and they're like,
Yeah.
come back for season 2.
Yep.
And guess what? No one came back.
Yes. Yeah. Turns
so now
out,
you have
if
this-
you're left on a cliffhanger for a game that you are having a lot of fun, and you got to wait, 6 months for the next part of it, people don't
Whatever their
typically want to
cycle
come
is, yeah.
back, right? Like,
Unbelievable that they would make a decision like this, because we even enjoyed the game. The game got bashed.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
oh, it
And
got
reviews and-
really destroyed by the reviews. Like,
It was hammered. Now, we
Yeah.
enjoyed it. We had a really good group of people to
it's
play
a
it
fun
with that helped.
game. It's a
was so
legitimately
much
fun
fun.
game. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the story.
Do you think-
people are like, it's not canon? I don't care.
Do you
It's not-
think
I don't care.
something
It's
with
fun.
that game? Do you think it would have been different if they released like part 2, like 2-3 weeks or a month after they released the game? Do you think it would have been different?
I think maybe so. Maybe so. So here's the story, right? There's an article that came out so that people know where they're trying to get they had in their heads an entire story.
Yeah.
That was going to contribute to the DC universe, right? They were like, it's going to contribute
A
to the
different
universe,
line of
but you got
canon, right?
but you've got to be here for the whole
Yeah.
thing. Well, nobody cares about your game.
Yeah.
It's not a good live service game,
Yeah.
and nobody cares, so they're never going to get to finish the story. And the question you asked is, do I think if they had gotten it closer, right, to the release cycle being a couple weeks, maybe, but good live service games, because I'm not bashing live service games. There are very good live service games.
There's a
out there.
lot of good live service. World of Warcraft, hello. Like, how long has
Yep.
World of Warcraft been out? I don't even know. Like, I think we've talked about this before.
2011, maybe 2009,
2004.
2004. There you go. 20 years.
That game
Yep.
is still. I don't care what anyone says. Look, the way that companies are in the gaming industry, if you have a population that is maintained at the level that the parent publisher decides to continue to publish content around it, you're a success. It doesn't matter if the
That is
population's
successful, yes.
declining. If they're still making a conscious decision to allow content to be produced, you're winning, right?
Yep.
Destiny 2 is another one that I talk about. That was like 11 years ago, 12 years ago, right? Yeah, I would love to sit there and say that I would love kill the Justice League game more if it was closer together, because I think also a lot of companies lose track of the fact that in the gaming industry 6 months is an eternity.
Oh, it's an eternity. Yeah, 100%.
Right? So many games can get released that you sidetrack to. Like, how many games have been released that you and I have played since?
How many? Okay, not let's do it different. Not even how many games. How many looter shooters?
For sure. Yeah.
Right. In that same time, 5 or 6 that we've played together. Right.
Well,
Like,
I mean, we can even name just one. Baldur's Gate being released right
BG3,
after
yeah.
Justice League was like a nail in
Right.
the coffin for them.
Oh my
Right?
God, that thing was a wrecking ball. And you know what? It was released complete, right? It's a wrecking ball because the game company, Larian Studios, said, I see what y'all are doing in live service games, and I see why you're doing it. It's greedy,
Yeah.
but we're going to go release just a full, badass, complex,
Long,
overdeveloped, overthought,
long game.
gorgeous,
Yeah.
huge game.
Yeah.
And we're going to let people buy it for their $70 or whatever it is, and we're going to call it a day.
Yeah.
And that is an approach I think gamers appreciate. So in the case of like Kill the Justice League, to me, if they had they should have released the entire story. If they wanted a live service game, they could have added. I mean, it's the DC universe. You can add some of the greatest villains in history later.
All day you
But
could be
this
doing it.
story,
Yes.
the story needed
Yeah.
to complete. Where it ends, for spoiler alert, because nobody. Look, I think on Steam it was 65 people played the game with it. It's that low.
Yeah.
Like it is embarrassing, right? But here's a spoiler alert. It's a very compelling game, right? You're playing, there's a supervillain, big baddie guy who's got the Justice League and turned them into zombie Justice League, which are bad guys. It's basically the Bizarro version of themselves. You know, Batman kills people. It's like a whole thing.
Which, by the way, let me tell you right now, that was one of the reasons I think that Seven and I love that game so much.
Oh
was the way out and left. Let's just talk about the fact that Harley Quinn walks like Batman has been beat down by the the Suicide Squad, and Harley Quinn walks up and shoots him in the head.
Yep.
Like that was a moment
done.
I was like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. Like.
Well, the moment you
Wow.
walk in, the Batman part. When you first meet Batman, you walk into this museum, and he is
Gotham's hero.
actively. Well, he's there, and Harley Quinn was like, "Hey, don't worry, guys. He doesn't kill people.
Yeah,
and
don't
he
worry.
Literally chops someone up in front of you."
She actually says,
it's
"Don't
like-
worry, guys. He doesn't kill people." And then a dead body, like.
Yeah, and it's like, what? So like the game had this amazing, like it could be very engaging, but the way the story ends is, oh, there's 17 other bad guy universes for you to conquer, and it's like,
Well,
what?
but it's also like we said, it's like 6 or 8 months later too, after you've already played the game, and you're like, all right, I moved on to 5 other games by then, bud. Sorry, you didn't
So,
have enough
what's-
lure to keep me interested that long, right?
You know what's interesting? I'm thinking through this now. I did this series of streams with my wife where we did story games, and I think you may have watched a couple of them.
Yeah.
But we did these story games.
Excuse me, I watched all of them. Thank you very much.
We need to do more of those. But I will tell you what I found is it's hard to find games to do like that.
Yeah, for sure. I can understand.
And we did the Telltale series, The Expanse.
Oh, Expanse,
And
such a good game.
it was wasn't it great?
Oh
And
my gosh.
the way they did that game is they did episodic launches.
Yes.
And so they took the story and chopped it up, and they told you it's going to be an episodic launch. You're going to play chapter 1, you're going to play chapter 2. I was actually okay with all that. So there is a way to do it. But if you have a story to tell as a game company and you're trying to make it part of a larger universe, don't bet on live service. You're probably not that good at it. There's like a dozen live service games that are actually good. That's about how many.
Yeah.
If I'm really telling you how many are good right now that are still alive, about a dozen.
I think also if you add in the fact that you're trying to do a storyline that is contrary to a storyline by some of the most die-hard storyline and lore fans that you could have, right? The DC
That's fair.
universe. Are you
Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
kidding me? You like
Yeah, that's fair.
that was the thing you and I talked about when the game came out originally, was people like losing their minds that Batman would kill people because it wasn't really canon until
right.
the multiverse, where he went totally crazy. And it's like that idea, and you and I are of the mind, like, we're trying to play a game and chillax, man. Like, we're not
trying to enjoy a game, right?
Yes. I'm not trying to get into lore and freak out about it, right? But the majority of folks that are super deep in the DC universe are not going to be okay with that, right? That's like the same thing, probably why like Star Trek fans hated Star Trek Discovery, or you know, you have people that are so far into lore and like the ethos of a universe. If you took a left turn, it's too late. You already lost them. Like, they're gone. Sorry, you know.
Oh yeah. Didn't you know that Batman's left pinky was broken when he was 19 years old?
Right.
It should be fairly bent.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I didn't know that, but it didn't ruin the game experience for me. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll never play the game. Right? Like,
I'll never play this game. And they actually did. You're right. They suffered that because people were like, "This is not canon," and they just went nuts. You and I were like,
but it's
"This is a
really
lot of fun."
It's
and
a really
they
good
even lost
game.
us.
Yes.
Right. And then they lost us.
Well,
so,
and that
like,
wasn't because
if
of the story. That was because, like I said, 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, no, 100%.
With a bunch of games dropped in the middle, right? Like,
I'm just not. I don't care anymore.
yeah, and that's why I haven't got back. Honestly, like maybe a year or two from now, when there's another lull. Because game development, game releases do that, right? Like, they release a bunch of mega amazing games, and then you'll have a lull. And in the lull, you'll go back to old games, right?
We're just geeking out about games right now, but the ARPG, I've got some friends who are engineers or developers at ARPG, right? Action RPG.
Sure.
So that's like Diablo 4.
Yeah.
Path of Exile, Last Epoch, right? And those games do these cycle releases, seasons, sometimes they call them cycles or whatever. And the fans of that game type literally just rotate between.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done the Diablo 4 cycle. Now I'm going to go over to Path of Exile, right? Oh, I've done that.
Yeah. I'm
going to go over to Last Epoch, right? And they have a good cycle down, and they're part of a cycle that they're participating in. But if you want to, I'm going to be honest about live service, because you and I met because of a live service game.
Yeah.
And I think the game company that makes that game is one of the better at doing it, in my opinion.
Well, to be clear, that company is one of the first to have jumped into live service gaming, right? Not with the title that you and I met as a result of, but they kind of spearheaded that. They were one of the company. I shouldn't say spearheaded, because let's be honest,
they were
Blizzard,
one of the very
Blizzard
few.
was probably the
Eve.
company. Yes,
Eve,
Eve.
Blizzard, right? You had
some,
Final Fantasy, right, with Final Fantasy Online, right? But you had like these companies that got out and did these live service games, got really good at it.
Yeah.
Even those companies miss. And so when you're saying I'm going to launch a brand new live service game, what you're saying is I want you to play my game for 6 months before I make any money off you. You know what you got to do keeping on a game for 6 months?
Yeah, you got to have a lot of content.
Good luck.
Good content, right?
Good luck holding this guy's attention for 6 months.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I'm probably the extreme in that sense, because I am very critical of games in general. Like, there's a lot of content creators out there that will jump from game to game to game and not really care. Yeah. I am extremely picky when it comes to certain games, and a lot of games, unfortunately, on the surface will make me be like, nah, I'm good, you know. And then I'll see one of my friends playing, or I'll see a video or something and be like, huh. And then, holy shit, I just got pulled in. Which, we'll talk about a game that I'm playing later on, but that's the case in that respect. But yeah, so I think, kind of going back to what we're talking about, it's kind of crazy how a lot of these companies have recognized how to enthrall and hook people. And a lot of those companies that have realized how to do that don't know how to maintain that. And then you got companies that were mediocre at hooking people, but amazing at keeping them interested. You know, and it's crazy to me that you can't synergize that. And to me, it's like you have so many games out there that are live service that aren't listening. Well, no, I shouldn't say aren't listening. The folks that make the calls because they're the ones that focus the money, don't care about listening or seeing what's going on in the gaming world. And I don't want to do any game dev a disservice, because those folks are the ones that have created the Resident Evils, have created the World of
100%.
Warcrafts, those are the people that created stuff out there that the gamers just got completely enamored with, that typically, unfortunately, had their life's work, I guess, ruined because someone was like, Q4 of 2024 is going to be off the chain because of this, and I don't care how many hours you have to work to get that content out. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, oh, it's not complete yet. I don't care. Let it get out. We'll patch it later. Like,
well, this is a great. Look, we can cease the conversation because you've just given us the full art story.
Yeah.
Because here's what we're saying: the people who do the art and are creative have the ability to make something I will pay attention to.
100%.
When you turn it into metrics and an algorithm, I lose interest.
You, and it's easy to see that, by the way. It's so easy to see when that happens. Yes. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the folks that wear that tie and suit that make the calls on when stuff should be released and don't give a crap about whether stuff is ready or not, I don't think that's ever going to change, because it doesn't matter. If they're making money and a title crashes afterward, they don't care. Like, Diablo is a perfect example of that. Like, a perfect example. You have 4 generations of your game.
Right. This was not Diablo 1, guys.
No. And Diablo 4, which had the most amazing of all the Diablo titles, in my opinion, of storytelling, the most amazing cutscenes, video, graphics.
Gorgeous.
Hands down.
Yeah.
But then you obviously, oh God, their cutscenes, hands down. Blizzard, by the way, you know, you'll never hear me talk negatively about Blizzard's ability to storytell. Like, you'll never hear me talk. Yes.
Yeah.
But you can 100% tell that they were set to a deadline. Like, you're going to meet this, and I don't care if the game crashes every 3rd minute or whatever. Like, you can 100% tell that. And, like, yeah, I haven't played Diablo 4 in, like, almost a year, probably.
You were there for it.
Bro, if you want to talk about fanboys, I literally have a graphics card that is branded from Blizzard because I won a 4080 Founders Edition from Blizzard for Diablo 4, and I don't even play their game because of the fact that they did that. They were more worried about the shareholder profits than they were about stability of the game.
Well, I mean, you know,
whatever,
the same thing happened with Cyberpunk 2077, right? If you go look at Witcher 3, which, in my opinion, if you had to ask me for top 5 games ever created in the history of ever, Witcher 3 will make that list every time. Now, it might...
So good.
It'll be somewhere.
So
but
good.
It is as good as anything that's ever been made.
Yeah.
And Cyberpunk 2077, when it came out, I loved it. It worked flawlessly on my machine. I did not have the problems.
And then you had people like me. I was the other people. It crashed. It crashed regularly for me. I couldn't get through. Like, a cutscene would lock up on me. I actually pre-ordered the game because I love cyberpunk stuff.
Just the genre. The genre is just, and it's an underserved genre.
And then what was it, like a year later they finally fixed most of the issues? Too late. I
Yeah.
pre-ordered
Well,
the
so-
game, I played 30 minutes, and I uninstalled it and asked for a refund and never looked back.
Well, and what's legitimate about 2.0, right? You're talking about 2.0, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The thing that came out, right? I told people when people asked me, because a lot of people got refunds for that game, and when people asked my opinion, I told them, I think it's one of the greatest games. Like the story, it's an amazing game.
Yeah.
But it worked for me.
Yeah.
And it didn't work for people. And when people went back, the very small subset of people who went back and played it after it was at 2.0,
Blown away.
they were like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so the team, so here's what you're saying. And I'm with you 100%. So I'm backing you on this. The team had the ability to deliver a perfect game.
100%.
And
100%.
someone chose, for reasons unrelated
We have
to
to
the game.
meet deadline, quarter, whatever of year, whatever. We have to, regardless of stability of the game. And
The developers
clear-
and the artists and the sound artists and the sound designers and every bit of
an
they
entire,
had the ability to get you
you
there.
figure an entire development office, right, was thrown under the bus because some
Yep.
idiot.
The CD Projekt Red, 100%. Yep, 100%. And the thing is, like, after Witcher 3, like, if you're sitting there, you know your studio has the ability to do something at this
100%, completely. There
you
are
choose
people
to be
that
like,
still play
at
Diablo
launch.
3 more than Diablo 4.
level. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And the fidelity of everything in Diablo 3 is complete dog shit. Excuse my language. compared to Diablo 4. But all of the negatives of Diablo 4 made Diablo 4 not be liked, right? And you see that, unfortunately, time and time again in the gaming industry specifically. It's so sad to me that we're at a place like that, because there's so much talent out there. Storytelling,
Hungry
quality, hungry talent. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to me that we're at a place where we allow folks that are worried about profit to drive progress. I think that's the thing that, like,
Well,
it's
it'll go back to the AI
I love
conversations.
that
Whenever
quote, by the way. Don't you guys have phones?
Yeah, don't you guys have phones?
Sorry. So for those of us,
No.
for those of you listening out in podcast land, you can't see chat. So we are engaging with chat a little bit more than we normally do. But yeah,
The going all the way back, when you take art and you try to turn it into something that can just be generated for profit,
yeah,
it ruins it.
yeah.
It loses its
Hands
soul,
down.
and the point of art is that it has soul.
Yeah.
And I consider video games the most evolved form of art. It
Yeah.
has audio, it's got visual, it's got storytelling, it's got all of it. And I think
Yeah.
we as a society are just now beginning to grasp how advanced it could be. But if we take it out of the artist's hands too early,
Yeah.
it'll never realize what it could be. And then you see things like Hogwarts Legacy or Baldur's Gate 3 or some of these games that just the CEO from Larian Studios has said very openly, I'm not changing the way we do this. I care more about the art of making these games than profit. That's what it takes. Is
You
the
know what's-
CEO saying,
But
This
you
is
know
how
what's
it's gonna go.
depressing is you have instances of CEOs and publishers saying stuff like that with immensely successful titles, like, say, Helldivers. Helldivers is
sure.
another one.
Sure.
Right, the CEO has had, like, he openly admits their flaws. He says, yes, this is a problem. Like, perfect example, I'll call Helldivers a looter shooter because that's essentially what it is. But they would literally come out with patches that would balance weapons and whatever around the spreadsheet, right? And the community negatively reacts to that, and the CEO is like, has an epiphany, like, why are we doing this? Why aren't we balancing around what the community feels is fun versus some spreadsheet number that we feel is necessary, right? And when he admitted that, that was a huge hit. And I don't want to go down the road of, you know, because Helldivers has had a falling out because of Sony specifically. Because
Well,
Sony,
it was a publisher issue.
Yes,
it was a guy in
and that's a
suspenders in a
whole
suit smoking a
nother
cigar.
issue, right? We talked about
100%.
people that were worried about making money driving decisions that destroy art, essentially. And this is
100%,
another
it
example of
destroys
that,
art.
right? And
Yep.
and it's sad to me that you've got amazing companies that are like producing content that aren't the top 5 that are hugely successful. One of our first episodes that you and I talked about was BattleBit, right?
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
And that's literally just a couple devs that are like, let's just make something fun. And holy shit, they made a game that made immense amount of
so much
money
fun.
immediately.
So much
now,
fun.
and by the way, I haven't touched BattleBit in like almost a year. But those 3 devs that put something together that was a cross between Call of Duty and Battlefield, but with Roblox graphics,
Legos,
right? And they made I think the lead dev even said they had no intention of making more than a couple, maybe 100,000 if they were lucky, and they made like $24 million in the first weekend or something crazy, right?
Yep.
And it kills me that you have people that, like you said, are the suspender pulling, stogie puffing.
Let me tell you how it's gonna go.
Like they're, but what's sad is those are folks that don't care if they drive a title into the ground, a multi-generational title. Like I said, like Diablo, they don't care if they drive it into the ground, because if they made $1 million, all they give a shit about is I'm going to move on to the next title, whatever the next thing is. You know, it might not be Diablo, it might be Diabla, or something stupid later on, right? Like, and that's really an unfortunate reality, right? Like,
Diabla.
sorry, that's the only thing I could think of on the fly. Look there, that's all I had, right? Like, I've had a little whiskey, and I can't English right now. Okay.
Well, why don't we go ahead and talk about what you're playing now, then, since we're on the subject of games.
No, but legit, let's make sure that we make that, like, because I think you and I have both played a lot of games by indie studios.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
I think we tend to gravitate. We play a lot of games with our buddy Deacon, and he moves between games more than.
Well, that's
us.
because he literally completes games in the time that you and I read like the settings.
Oh, they're like this game is probably about 70 hours of gameplay, and he's like, noob, that was an hour.
I did it in 34 seconds. What are you talking about?
He moves quick, but he introduces us. He's one of our sources for like, oh, have you guys seen this game?
Yeah.
And we talk about these different games, and I think we all gravitate towards supporting the more original people trying to do something. We, Enshrouded, right, games like that. We're like, hey, we're in. We try PAX Day, but oh my God, they're so far off.
Oh my God.
Close. Right, we're willing to try those things to support those devs, and we will be loyal if the game's good.
Yeah.
And we will give you money if the game's good. So, what are you playing these days, Hapa?
So I've got a few games that I'm playing. You guys know me. I play the same old World of Warships, War Thunder. But when this game released, I was like, nope, not interested. Nope. Because I've been burned in the last probably, I would say 6 years. MMORPG kind of shooters, I was a huge Destiny fan. Love. Your Destiny's like 11. Oh God. Because it's the perfect amalgamation of what I love. Like first-person shooters and fantasy kind of gameplay. I played, God, I don't even know how many hours Destiny 2. Destiny 2, I think, is like 11 or 12 years old at this point now. So when this game came out, the first Descendant, and I saw it, I was kind of like, because it's a free-to-play, and I hate to say it at this point, free-to-plays to me have kind of soured almost. They kind of I figure on no quality, no, like you're
They
not
seem
gonna,
free to play.
yes, they seem cheesy. Like, you know, Rita and I played a game called Godfall like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. It was a free to play. It was a game that I was like, this is amazing though. Like but it was like a bug every 32 seconds, like game crash every
Gotcha.
5 minutes, like on and on and on. And we lost that. And Destiny was like amazing storytelling, great FPS play, great, you know, longevity, etc., etc., etc. So when the first Descendant came out, I was like, I've been kind of burned by New World Amazon games. I've been kind of burned by Diablo 4 and kind of this over and over and over. Like all these titles, it just wasn't interested. First Descendant came out. I ignored it when it released. And then I watched a couple streamers play. I watched a YouTube video here and there. And then I saw somebody that has similar game interest to me playing it on Steam, because you know on Steam you can see who's
Oh,
playing.
you're just
what.
like watching your friends list. Yeah.
There's my brother playing First Descendant,
Oh, that was your okay. He
and
was
he's
your
not,
dealer.
and he's not like up and playing an hour or so. Like he's on when I start playing games in the evening, and when I go to bed he's still playing, and then I wake up sometimes.
Oh, so he was no life in it.
Oh, and I wake up sometimes and he's still playing. Like when I woke up, like, okay, I see you. And then my brother's like, hey man, like, have you looked at First Descendant? I just wondered, like, you know. And let me tell you, the last week or so, you do this with me all the time. Oh shit, it is midnight.
Oh yeah, I got work tomorrow.
I've got an actual job I got to do the next day. And I'm like, come on, man, let's do more.
Just one more run.
Just one more. And that's how my brother has been for like the last week, but at like 2 a.m. Like literally.
Wow.
2 a.m.
I didn't know he was that into it.
Oh man. And let me tell you, so Rita, me and my brother have been no life. And you told me on Sunday, was it Sunday? I think you said you were no life.
I think so.
Yeah.
I was gonna no life
so
it, yep.
First Descendant to me has the mix that we've been talking about for like the last 45 minutes. Like great storytelling, good gameplay loops, loot that actually to me drops the way that you need.
Feels fun.
Fun. It gives you that dopamine hit, you know.
Yeah. It's grindy, but it's not so grindy it gets boring.
The sounds they have for stuff is that same thing, that dopamine hit. Like when you get a you know, an ultra rare or an ultimate, it makes a specific sound that you've been trained to hear from the beginning. And yeah, you know, so
It looks gorgeous. It's Unreal. It's an Unreal Engine game, and it looks gorgeous.
And what I've been trying to tell people is Destiny meets Warframe, essentially, is what it is. It is.
Yes. Yeah, so I never played Destiny, but I did play Warframe a lot, and it reminds me a lot of Warframe. And I mean that in a very complimentary way.
Yeah, and that's where.
Talk about a live service game that's done well. Warframe's
right. And that's where I think First Descendant is right now. Most of their microtransactions are cosmetic, which you won't ever hear me talk bad about that. If your microtransactions are cosmetic, I won't talk shit about that. But what is more impressive to me with the First Descendant is literally everything in the game can be ground for. You can play for it. You could just try for it. You don't have to. There isn't stuff that's exclusive to being purchased.
Yeah, which is really, you know, in co-op. So it's a co-op game for anyone who's not familiar. It's a co-op game, and any game that's co-op, I'm actually okay with using money to buy things, even to speed up your progress, right? Because you're not getting an advantage over another human that you're playing PvP against or whatever. When you make it all cosmetic, you've kind of hit the sweet spot for me. When
100%.
you make it cosmetic and no gambling, I'll support you. I'll actually give you money, right?
Yeah,
And in the case
yeah.
of the First Descendant, I actually was like, I played it. I liked it on Sunday. I found myself wanting to play it more on Monday. I did not. Played it on Tuesday and was like, I'm going to give them $20 to $30, right? That
Yep.
they have earned that. I've played enough hours. They have earned some money. They've gotten no money from me, and I bought like a cosmetic outfit or whatever. And it's do I need that to play the game? No, but that game developer to me has given me entertainment.
They, like you said, they
and I
earned
feel
it.
that I want to support. Yeah, I want to support them. I am someone who financially can do that. I'm not saying everyone should, but
Yeah.
I want to be able to support
Yeah.
so that they can keep making the game. So I don't have a problem in the world with you selling that stuff. I don't have a problem. I want these people to make money,
I think that's
right?
the
If
biggest
they make
thing.
a good product.
If you have a product that is good and you're enjoying it and you feel like you should support them at that point. And by the way, in my opinion, that should be the free to play like mantra. Like we want to produce a product that makes people have buy-in and enjoy it to the point where they want to spend on it.
Yep.
If your game is
We don't trick you into it. We don't addict you into it. We don't gamble you
exactly.
into it.
Yep.
We tell you what you're going to get. We tell you a fair price.
Yeah. And that's
And
the
you
thing.
give us that.
Mind you, that's
an
the thing
honest
that
transaction.
really
Like, that
that I
feels like a
really
good
love.
transaction.
Like I said, everything in the game you could play to earn. You don't have to pay to earn.
Yeah.
So
right.
if you tell me that there is a ultimate something in the game, it has a 3% drop, I know for a fact if I do this mission over and 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 over, there's a good chance in 5 hours I might not get it. But
Yeah.
there's a 3% chance that I might
Yes.
get it.
Yes.
And I don't have to spend money. You just hook me playing your game for literally the entire night.
So tell me, are you like this? Because here's what I'll do. I'll be like, I want the thing. I see that I can grind it. And in this game, I think this game actually does something that other games like this haven't done. I think Warframe doesn't do this well, which you have different gameplay types.
Sure.
Where it's like the big boss fight, right? You can like do that, and you can just do that over and over,
Yeah.
over and over and over.
Yeah.
Again. If that's what you're grinding, that's what you're grinding.
Yeah, yeah.
And I look at it, and I'm like, that's probably 3 hours of my time of trying. Or I actually feel like giving you $20. It's just that moment of like,
100%.
I'll just buy this one, and I'll grind for the next one.
The way that I work is if it's something that I absolutely want and I play for 2-3 days, like no life, 2-3 days. I'm talking the 2 a.m. Holy shit, it's 2 a.m. I need to go to bed all day,
Right.
every day. At the end of the 3 days, I'm like, all right, you got me. I'll go ahead and I'll throw you the $20 at that point.
Yeah.
Because I've also recognized in my head you've hooked me for several days. So you
Well, it's my entertainment budget, right?
Yes,
Like you've entertained
yes,
me. I am
yes.
okay spending some of my entertainment budget on you. Yeah, it's really interesting. I might at some point future state on a podcast want to dig into the difference between like what you like about games and don't like what you find skeezy.
Sure,
Because this
yeah.
live service concept is something a lot of people are shooting at,
Yeah.
and the big gaming studios are the ones getting it wrongest.
I
Right,
will,
they're the-
I will tell you the ones that hit it big at the beginning are typically the ones that don't get it right now.
Yeah.
Because they hit
that's
it
fair.
so big
That's fair.
that they're like, we need to try to maintain this, and they don't think about the idea of quality. Quality keeps me engaged. Quantity doesn't.
Yeah, there's some games. There's some games I've walked away from. You and I were talking about it. There's some games I've walked away from in the past year that I really didn't want to walk away from. That is a weird situation, right?
Yes.
It's like
because you had the
I
mental
actually want to
buy-in.
continue, and I actually love the concept.
Yes.
I want to be there, but you've gone so far off of a ledge that I don't want to be involved with it.
And-
I don't like it anymore. Right? You've alienated someone.
And by
who was
the
a
way,
fan.
I want to talk about that. Like you've literally made somebody that psychologically had the buy-in to your
100%.
product that doesn't want to leave your product make a decision to leave your product. That's immense.
It's an achievement.
That's immense.
That's a Steam achievement right there.
It's immense.
Yeah, that has been a weird I've not been. That's a scenario I have been in twice. And the first one, I'm not going to tell you. Well, you know the second one, but I won't mention it here. But the first one was Eve Online.
Yep. Yeah.
And what Eve Online did was they moved to allowing you to purchase skill points. So the original concept of that game is the only way you could get skill points in the game, in other words, get your character more ready to do stuff, was to play the game. And you could skill them up they skilled up in real time, right? So 24 hours a day. Yeah. But every 48 hours, you had to go in and say, keep skilling up.
But
and
let's also talk about the fact that when that happened, that was like almost a decade, right? Like that was almost...
Yeah, it was like a decade in, absolutely.
That's crazy.
And then they go...
Still. That's kind of reasonable.
And then they made a decision, like, we're going to sell the ability... What happened was people like me, I was one of the guys who had all the skill points, right?
You put the work in.
Right. Well, I'd been there since Alpha, right? So I had been around, and my character in the game could do literally anything. And other people who were just starting the game were at an enormous disadvantage. And so what they were doing... I think you and I left around
the same time, like the same level of thought
process. So that kind of got you too. Yeah, it was like, because you know what was one of the craziest things in that game? Is you used to go in that game and see someone, and you would right-click on them and do show info. And you would look at the date that character was born, and you would know pretty quick whether you wanted to mess with them or not.
Yep.
And you know what?
Like, that guy's been around since the beginning. I'm going to go the other direction.
Right. That was kind of where I was. And it turned into, oh no, it's 5 real money trading bots because now I can buy and sell. This guy
had $10,000 worth of disposable income and he still beat me. Fuck. Like,
yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's got 42 ships to do it with. Yeah, so there's games that you walk away from. That is what it is.
I think that's a topic that you and I, I feel like we do need to talk, because that's a legit conversation about the free-to-play and live service. I was about to say
how
live service
works,
game service.
How it doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's legit.
Yeah, live service games,
in general.
We should do that.
Can we talk about? Can we talk about what I'm watching?
I was going to because I'm excited.
Please.
I'm excited. So this segment is one we do every podcast. Hapa, what are you watching?
I love this section.
So first of all,
this is one of my favorite times.
Yeah.
This could just be the podcast.
I'm going to start out with a series. I talked about the last episode, but it really upsets me that Snowpiercer is so those of you that watched the movie, you know Snowpiercer, but Snowpiercer is also a TV show. And if you haven't seen the TV show, I highly implore you, in whatever streaming service you have, to try to at least watch one season and then be as mad as I am at the fact that you have to pay to try to see the rest of the show, because it is such a damn good show, right? Which, Jennifer Connelly notwithstanding, is enough to make you mad that you have to pay to watch the rest of the show. Okay. No. Snowpiercer show is the movie, but actually spread out to tell the story the way it should be done. Right?
Like the movie was Captain America, right? What was his name?
Yeah.
Chris Evans?
Chris Evans, yeah. If you could imagine... like Game of Thrones condensed into 3-hour blocks, like 3 1-hour blocks, like how mad you would be because the amount of stuff you had to omit. Snowpiercer's the same way. Like Snowpiercer builds through the series to where the movie basically ends. Such a good show. If you're able to stream it, go watch it. Also, as I said, Jennifer Connelly is the only reason to probably watch it. But no, okay.
I'm seeing a trend here.
Look, if there's Jennifer Connelly being in anything, I'm gonna watch her. Which brings me to my next show, Dark Matter. So you and I talked about it, not this last episode, but the episode before, about talking about Dark Matter, and I had not recognized at that time. Rita and I were watching Dark Matter. We had missed the season finale at that time. So I thought that was the season finale, and that's where we were. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then Rita and I watched the season finale, and I was like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys haven't seen Dark Matter, and you're a sci-fi nut, which if you're listening to the podcast and you're watching us on YouTube, whatever the case may be, you're probably already a sci-fi nut. But Dark Matter, what's the male actor's name? I feel horrible for not knowing.
I'm terrible with
Joel Edgerton.
Edgerton, yeah.
I get him mixed up with other actors all the time because there's two or three.
Who's the lead actress, though?
What was her name? Georgia. Oh, Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, is it now?
Interestingly enough,
Wow.
the lead supporting actress. Come on, man. Seriously. No. From a sci-fi standpoint, though, Dark Matter, you're talking interdimensional. Look, it's just an amazing go down a rabbit hole story that you can get really sucked into because there is a lot going on morally and morality wise in that show. You could literally be like, what if I was in this guy's shoes? Like if I was the guy that Joel Edgerton played, like what would I do? You know what I mean? Like there's a point in that show, and I don't mean to necessarily give away spoiler alerts, but like there's like 300 Joel Edgertons.
Yeah, there's some really uncomfortable moments.
And you know what's really crazy is I hadn't even thought about that part of it until
that kind of caught me off guard.
Until it happened. Right?
Well, and it makes sense when they get there.
100%.
Right? When
100%.
The show brings you along, and when you get there, it makes sense.
100%.
And it's like, oh my God, how did I not see that coming?
I did not even think about that until like it happened. You're like, holy shit!
And I'm
actually,
a veteran of shows like this. Like I watch shows like this.
Rita, 1,000 per Rita a day? No, nobody wants to think about 1,000 Ritas.
Rita wants a prison of Ritas.
No, nobody wants to think about
hold.
1,000 Ritas at the same time. but like, because so did you ever watch Dark on Netflix?
Oh yes.
So that's another show that I 100.
That's one of the best shows.
Please, if you're out there listening, I don't care if you're in Jamaica or you're in Singapore, and I know you're both listening, and there's two of you, but you're both listening. Go on Netflix and watch Dark. It is a German-produced and recorded show. It's in German, but it's dubbed into English or whatever language. The dubbing is amazing, by the way. And that show, I think, is the first show I've ever seen that really delves into like interdimensional and inner time and the multiverse kind of concept in a way to me that is like believable and understandable. It's a mind, excuse the language, but it's a mind fuck, like legit.
Yeah, Dark was. There's a lot of shows that are dealing with quantum mechanics lately, and the presumptive of quantum mechanics is when you talk about the multiverse, that's what you're talking about, and you're getting to the point where some of them are doing it really, really exceptionally well, and Dark to me was one of the ones that kind of kicked it off.
It was one of the first.
Really,
it was one of the first. Yeah.
And I watched that and was like, okay, I'm kind of game for anybody who wants to toy with this subject. I'm kind of in. And then Apple TV just, Apple TV Plus just nails it.
And again, for those of you that at Apple that are listening to the podcast, because I know you are, look,
we're
man,
fans.
like Apple TV is the only Apple product that I 100% will push. Like,
we got to get you on the train.
What? No. Are you talking about Apple, iPhone? Ain't happening, brother. Sorry.
I got Tim Cook connections. We can make this happen.
No, man. I'm a
No?
I'm a droid fan through and through. You can't get me out of that. Can't do it.
Well, what if I get Tim Apple to call you up?
I mean, if he gives me a gold-plated iPhone, then I'll have to switch over. But
A gold-plated iPhone.
I'm just saying. But yeah, so Dark Matter.
Yep.
By the way, Game of Thrones. For those of you that were mad at the end of Game of Thrones, if you haven't watched the House of the Dragon shows, the latest episode, and Rita said this before I got a chance to tell her, but the latest episode, there are scenes with the Targaryens and dragons in the background that literally gave me chills. Like,
Cool.
and I, by the way, haven't had that in a show since the original Game of remember, for those of you that are big Game of Thrones fans, when they pulled one of the dragons out of the icy waters and you saw the dragon open its eyes and it was blue because you knew that it was an undead dragon, like that, I got chills when I saw that scene. The last episode of House of the Dragon did the exact same thing to me. Like, holy shit. Like it's one of those scenes, like, you really have a buy into the show. You're like, shit just got real. Like, you know, like, legit House of the Dragons. If you're not watching it, you need to go watch. It's on Max. It's worth the watch. I'm an idiot for lore, like anything that dives into lore of stuff like that. I get into that, but let's get into the show. Seven has been telling me to watch this show, hell, like 4 months before I started watching it. I think you were telling me.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Yes. And I need to hear your thoughts on this.
On Amazon Prime, if you haven't watched, well, if anything, for the lead actor, okay, look.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a 100% heterosexual dude, but I'll tell you, people like Ryan Reynolds.
If Jennifer Connelly were a dude,
I'm just
it
saying.
would be.
No, like you know, what's his name? What's his actual name? I can't remember his
Josh
first
Brolin.
name. Brolin, yes. Josh Brolin is an actor that I feel like hasn't gotten enough attention. Outer Range. Come on, guys. Like, it is the right amount of Yellowstone and full out sci-fi, like dark, or, you know.
How far have you gotten?
Brother. So Rita and I have, I don't think we've even finished season 1 yet.
Okay. All right.
But
it's has it gotten you your
the scenery, the location,
gorgeous.
the nerdum level, sci-fi, everything about it is just
the acting. Oh my gosh,
so good. I can't remember the girl's name. The girl that the younger, not the daughter, but like the girl that ends up staying on his
what's her
farm.
name? Poppy.
I can't remember, but she was in also V for Vendetta. She was one of the girls in V for Vendetta. Like, all of them. All of the...
Imogen Poots.
Yes. All of them are such good freaking actors and actresses. Like, come on, man. If it wasn't a sci-fi, if it was a more of a Yellowstone type story, it would probably be just as good, honestly. Like...
Yeah, it's set in it's set in Montana, and it is among the ilk of, like we've been talking about, where there's some science fiction stuff going on. I'm not sure what it is, and it's set in Montana, which gives it a really unique,
beautiful scenery
tilt to it. Those are almost always set in cities and stuff.
Man.
But you got Montana, so you got this amazing backdrop. You got Brolin, who just just kills it. You can completely believe his character, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's such a good.
right?
I mean, it's just a good show. It's just a good show. It's like, that's a show that if I wasn't watching with Rita on like a limited schedule, I would probably just sit and lose an entire weekend on. Like, just straight
it's
on
a good
through.
show.
It's such a good show.
Well, as you're watching it, I want you to keep telling me more about it, because I know
God. So
fantastic.
so Dark Matter, Outer Range, House of the Dragon. Obviously, you need to have subscriptions to, Max or Amazon Prime to watch them. But I think I would guess that most people have Netflix at least, right? Like, so you could watch some of the shows. But oh god,
Some of
so
these are
good.
worth, when we're talking about these shows and people are like, I don't want to have a subscription. Sometimes to me, it's worth saying, I want to watch this show. I'm going to have time this month to do it. I'm going
Yeah.
to subscribe for 1 month.
Yeah.
It's worth it to me to pay $12 or whatever it is to watch this show. That's the way that I do the math in my head.
I don't know if I ever told you. That's what Apple TV was originally that for me. I intended to only subscribe for 1 month and be done. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Greyhound. I think they did great. That's exactly what it was. Was Greyhound? The movie Greyhound came out on. It was an Apple TV exclusive. And I was like, I want to see this movie because I'm a World War II nut, and it has Tom Hanks in it, and I'm pretty positive that I watched that movie, and then I watched some other show, and then I watched some other show, and
Yeah, Silo. Yeah,
yeah,
Silo,
100%.
Like, I can't stop. Severance.
God,
oh my God, have you watched Severance?
What was the other sci-fi show where they go generationally, like century to century? What was it? Rita, you and I watched it. God, I can't remember. It's a sci-fi show that literally spawned like Dune and Aliens and God, what was it called?
Foundation.
Yeah,
The Foundation.
Foundation is that Isaac Asimov? I think it was Isaac Asimov.
I believe so, yeah.
It was a sci-fi show that is allegedly accredited with spawning the movie series of Aliens and Dune, supposedly, because that story was so sci-fi, it was almost too much for some.
Yes, at the time, yes.
Yeah, and Foundation's another one. And it's only Apple TV is only like $11 a month, by the way, where Netflix and so many others are upping their prices every single freaking year. Apple TV is like $11 producing all these amazing sci-fi shows, right? So she's talking about Dark.
Oh.
Yeah, spoiler alert, if you watch Dark, it gets a little weird at the end of the series.
It gets weird, yeah. Let's leave it there.
Anyway, what are you listening to? What you hearing, Seven?
So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you about an album from 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Because we didn't do the podcast and it was too good to miss.
Okay.
There was an album 2 weeks ago that came out, a band called called Highly Suspect, and the album is called As Above, So Below.
Oh.
It is absolutely end to end a fantastic album, and you don't often get these days rock bands who play albums like a rock band plays an album. And this album is end to end rock band. There's even an instrumental track on there, which is really
that
top
isn't a
notch. It's
thing
called
today.
The Reset. Right, you don't get much of that. But
Yeah.
this band, top to bottom, great album. And I'm going to go a little bit out there for what people may care about, but we had someone in chat earlier talking about smooth jazz in a joking way, but Pat Metheny released an album this past week, and if you've never listened, it's going to be chill jazz guitar music. And if you have a high quality, like lossless streaming service, so you're talking about Tidal, you're talking about Apple Music, one of the services that gives you like the high end version of the file and the equipment to listen to it,
Right.
you simply cannot miss this album. It is unbelievably recorded and worth listening to. So that's what I've been listening to lately.
We didn't talk about it enough.
I think you would like Highly Suspect.
We didn't talk about it enough the last episode, but can we just talk about Marshall Mathers?
So, have you listened top to bottom?
Yes.
So you did what I asked. So
Well,
for
I
anyone that
listened.
doesn't know,
To be clear, I listened before you told me that, but I didn't listen in order. And I think about
right.
I think about a week after we had did the podcast, when you were like, "Oh, this album's amazing." I broke down and I listened one to the end, and I didn't recognize when I first listened to it the storytelling that was going on.
that's what I've been telling people. And I said some of it on the podcast, but I'll kind of revisit here. This is Eminem's latest album that we're talking about. It's the death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace,
And
right?
I would argue it's probably his
album.
best album he's released ever.
The process I go through is every single Friday I collect a list of new studio albums that have come out. I try to avoid EPs and live albums, and while I love those things, I want to do a studio album, put it together, and the commitment that I make is I will listen to each of these albums. A lot of times it's people I don't know, but I will listen start to finish to your album in one sitting. I will do it, and you find a lot of things you like, and people will sometimes miss in today's world because they'll hear Houdini, which is the single that came out, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's a great song," and it is. It is. I'm not taking away. It's a great song, but if you don't sit down and listen to that album, start with track one and just let it play in one sitting, you're missing out on what may be one of the greatest concept albums ever created, and it happens to be hip hop. That blew my mind. The fact that someone, so a concept album, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, a concept album, Rush used to do them, right? The Decemberists do them. Pink Floyd did them. It's really hard to do, but a concept album is where every song in the album tells a part of a story that is cohesive. That is, I cannot describe to you how hard it is to put together 12 songs that actually people want to listen to. That tell a story. Coheed and Cambria is a fantastic example of this. And I don't know that I've ever heard it well done, in my opinion, well done in hip hop. And I heard this album and I was like, okay, this is
Let me tell you.
Get to the last song and it will absolutely sweep your legs out from under you.
So when I listened to it beginning to end, what I got from it, because so for those of you that don't know, Eminem is in his 50s at this point. Yes, 50.
He's
51, I think.
He's 51, 52, something like that.
Something like that. But this, I feel like every guy in I hate to say this, but every guy that has kids definitely understands this. You get to a point where you start kind of self-reflecting on the past and what have you, and I felt that in this album. Like, I felt he understands he's got a certain amount of years left and the years behind, and he was kind of telling that story. There's a couple songs in this story, and it's hip-hop. It's hip-hop, like, for those of you,
hip-hop.
It's kind of hard to bring people to kind of tear up a little bit with hip-hop music, but I kind of teared up a little bit.
I am not kidding when I say if you listen to it top to bottom, you will get to that last song, and it will absolutely sweep your legs out from under you.
Yeah.
It will. It's with Jelly Roll, of all people, right?
God, that song. And for those of you that haven't listened to Jelly Roll, anything that Jelly Roll puts out, I'm already, I'm bought in. But, God, you could tell this is by a dude that has led a life that's, kind of trials and tribulation kind of thing, and he's had the fame and money, and probably didn't pay enough attention to his daughter that he knows that he didn't pay enough attention to, etc., etc., etc. And here we are at the epitome of your career, and you're producing another album, bud. That's I hate to say it, but it's a home run. You did it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And it's the same goofball, entertaining level of music storytelling, though.
His ability to turn phrase is second to none. Right? He may be the best in history at phrase turning. And that album is just full of them. So you are getting Eminem, right? You're getting amazing, fast, rapid, well enunciated lyrics. You're getting turns of phrase at a level that he hasn't done on another album. And then you're getting an entire concept album end to end, which is a storytelling, and you're getting that it's an authentic story, right?
Yeah.
It is not a he doesn't
Actual
bail out, he
in
doesn't
his
back
mind.
away,
Yeah.
right? He doesn't back away from details. He doesn't hold back.
Yep.
And it's pretty it's pretty amazing. And anytime there's a concept album, I will encourage people to listen to it. That just happens to be a fantastic concept album.
And I didn't recognize it till just recently that a lot of his music and lyrics is like it's real.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, you know, he may throw the hip hop slang, what have you, into it, but it's real. Like shit he went through in his life. Like it's pretty real. Anyway,
it is.
I fanboyed a lot today in this episode in this
was
podcast.
Fun.
But
this was fun. I had a blast. I've been having a blast. This is good.
So
we're almost on the
theory,
exact time too, for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, we probably.
Pretty
That was
impressive.
happenstance. We definitely don't do that.
Oh no, we're professionals.
Oh yeah. We're professionals.
No.
So 2 weeks from now is what?
With a professional.
13,
Don't even.
14 August ish.
Why are you going to speak that evil on me, Ricky Bobby?
Look, man.
It is the 14th. Yes. 2
We're
weeks
gonna
is the
shoot
14th.
for. We're gonna shoot for. I like. That's probably the safe
Yeah.
like
We're
theory.
aiming for.
We're gonna try it.
Aiming for the 14th.
For the record, the last week we were supposed to do it last Wednesday. That was my fault.
But today, when I was like, 5 minutes before
No.
we're supposed to
What's
start, and
hilarious
I'm like,
was
"Bruh,
I was
where are
like,
you?"
"Oh shit, I've got podcast today," and then like 34 seconds later, Seven DMs me, "Hey man," so it's like, "Oh no." Yeah.
So we doing this tomorrow night?
Look, man.
So we got someone saying 2 weeks from now I'm going to be at a Santana concert. That is what I would consider a doctor's
man.
excuse.
How
Well
old
done.
is he?
You have an excused absence. Santana?
How old
He's
is
13.
He's gotta.
guy's
Well,
ageless.
look, man.
He played Woodstock when he was like 15 years old. So
Brother,
you can go from
he is
there.
almost 80 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Just playing the guitar and designing women's shoes, man. He's got it figured out.
He knows where it's at. Anyway, for those of you listening out there on podcast land, where can they reach Seven? And before you answer that, there's a reason we mention this stuff is because finding topics to talk about is very difficult anyway. But then you add in an election year globally, by the way, it is very hard to find science or whatever topics that don't have political undertones. And for those of you that are out there that might have stuff you want us to talk about, the reason we do this part, like how can you reach us, is because we want you to message us with topics and what have you that we might go over, and it's very helpful.
100%. We would love to hear from people so that we are not spending 6 hours a day pouring through
It's rough.
the
It's
latest political editorial from people whose opinions I actually don't really want or care for.
or care for you.
Yeah, so we do it. We do it because we love you and the science must be done. But it would be really nice if people said, hey, I'm going to reach out to Seven here on Twitter, or X, or Y, or Z, or whatever we call it. And
Z specifically.
or Twitch, right? You can hit me on Twitch. I don't stream as much as I used to. In fact, I don't stream at all lately.
It's been a minute.
Planning on getting back to it. It has. Detoxing. It's a bit of a detox for me.
Is that what it is?
But I do. I do watch. I'm hanging out with Rita all the time, or Hapa on stream, and so I'm there. So if you message me on Twitch, I will get it. So it's Twitter, X.com. Twitch is where you can reach me. It's always 7 S3VYN. If you find that name on a site, you can just take a shot. It'll probably be me. What about you, Hapa? Where do people find you on the dead internet?
Pretty much the
Where
same,
do people
man.
find you on the bot web?
If you do HAPA_fodder, you'll probably find me. The same icon, the same screen name, pretty much everywhere. We definitely are soliciting for topics that you'd like to hear us talk about. We do research. We do pull up articles, etc., etc. But yeah, if you have an idea, hit us up. Like I said, I think during this episode, the first episode that we've had a topic outside of what he and I were already talking about. I think we'd love to hear from you. So, and
This one was fun. Fun to have.
yeah, real talk with Hapa S3VYN@gmail.com is our email too. So if you want to shoot us an email, you can as well. We appreciate the hell out of every single one of you that are out there, specifically Kingston, Jamaica. We would love to come out there and do an episode. I'm just saying.
Get some fans together in Kingston. Y'all get it together, right? You get
Throwing it out there.
100 people, 150 people, 200 people listening. We'll come have a party with y'all. We will record it live with y'all in Kingston, Jamaica.
Oh man, with the ocean in the background, it'd just be
I may never come home.
a dream come true. Let's be honest. Anyway, I always close my streams the same way, but we're gonna change this a little bit. There is too much shit out there on the internet, out on social media, etc., etc. Please get out there, enjoy some grass, see some sunlight.
Are you trying to politely tell people to touch grass?
I'm trying, man. Don't let the algorithm get you down, man. You know.
Yeah. Power to the people, down with the algorithms.
I wouldn't say power to the people. I feel like that's overused. Anyway.
Okay. Down with the algorithms? Well, we need a new revolutionary war cry that is anti-algorithm.
No AI.
Go.
Down with AI. I don't know.
Yeah. Someone give it to us. We'll figure it out.
Either way, I know that Seven and I both feel the same. We love the hell out of all of you. We appreciate everybody that listens or watches, etc., etc. We hope to see you in the future, and we hope that you guys have a great evening, a great week, and take care of yourselves. We'll see y'all next time. Night, everybody.